We gave you the boomer opto. We gave you the slappy opto. Tonight, Crane has been deep in the minds of Moria, working on ownership projections for the FFPC playoff challenge. We got Ben Gretsch, we got Jacob Sanderson, we got Pat Crane. Let's have ourselves a show.
Pat Fryer Helmo.
This is what I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your sight.
Jamar. Alpha play chase.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally piss boys here, right?
All right,
The
boys.
intro still gets me every time. I don't come on enough that I just grin ear to ear every time.
The thing is that Zach, I hope Zach has been hard at work coming up with a new version of the introduction in which Sam Sherman's $2 million win has to become a part of
I would
intro
say that's
permanently.
part of the inclusion, sure, yeah.
So kind of, we'll see.
Yeah.
Negotiations have been ongoing between Sam Sherman and Chip Chasing LLC. Some offers have been made. Obviously, our lawyers are speaking to his lawyers. It's the hostile takeover is remaining hostile, but we have not agreed on the numbers yet. So if you guys are interested,
have you ever seen Succession? It's kind of like that. Yeah,
it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Somehow
like that.
nerdier.
And we are not
Taylor.
serious people.
we certainly are not.
Yeah.
So this is my first time ever doing this with you guys because this is past my bedtime, and normally speaking, I would not be engaging in this. But twofold: one, Jake and I are now full-time members of the Ship Chasing crew, and two, Peter said yes to going to a Denver Nuggets Boston Celtics game tonight. Peter is so loosely following the NBA, he did not realize that Nikola Jokic has a hyperextended knee, that Cameron Johnson has an injured shoulder, and that the Denver Nuggets are playing guys who are so bad that they're making inspirational posts.
Pickett and Julian Strother.
Julian Strother somehow so bad he can't even get in, but some of their backup guys are making inspirational posts on LinkedIn about their wins.
Pat, do you know all of these players?
Holmes with actual waiver dollars in my.
No, I know Jokic,
league,
and I stopped listening.
Right.
I heard Jokic was hurt, and I tuned out.
That's where I'm at.
I tuned out to the extent that I'll be able to tell when they stop talking about basketball. But
every time I watch Ship Chasing these days, these two guys are taking it in the ADP chasing direction, and I think we're here
hockey and stuff. I'm well trained. My brain just it's like Homer Simpson. I'm just kind of eating chocolate in my mind. And
there's two monkeys clashing cymbals inside
there's
your
two
head.
monkeys clashing until I realize you guys are done talking about whatever other sport I don't follow.
I never felt like we were particularly on track, but opening the show talking about the third string of the Denver Nuggets is.
Well, you guys, I find this. We'll get into the real stuff. I promise.
Well, I just think it's funny that you're bringing it up to make fun of Pete for not being here, but also kind of immediately proving how important he is to the show by then starting to talk about basketball instead of setting up what we're actually going to be doing.
Everyone knows what we're doing here. Everyone knows what we're doing. This is a sequencing of shows. It's the same thing every year. It's Boomer Opto first. It's ownership projections. Then Thursday night,
we like to hope that there's at least a couple people that weren't here last year.
Well, how about one of us wins $2 million again next year, and then we can keep growing the channel.
Right, I'll win again if you guys insist. Okay, fine.
We need. It's someone's got to do it. All right, Crane. Would you like to explain the methodology behind your ownership projections?
So here we are. This is the FFPC playoff challenge we're going to be talking through. We talked last night about what we think the kind of the chalkiest lineup will be. The Boomer Opto, as it's called. And I've been in the lab since and been listening to some other content.
So there was a little bit of confusion over what the Boomer Opto is exactly. It could be one of two things. So explain exactly what it is.
It's the most chalk lineup. It's the lineup that's going to be duped the most, basically. It's the lineup that's the comfiest that you're going to see duped probably a dozen times or more. And the reason it's not just the highest projected play from each team is because that's kind of impossible. Like the highest projected play from a number of teams will be not playing them at all, right? So like to get to the Steelers or the Chargers or, playing any of those teams, you're actually moving off the chalk, which will just be to not play them because those fades will be somewhat spread out enough. So we had Boswell in the Boomer Opto, but I have Pittsburgh fade projected for more ownership than Boswell because Steelers D will get played as well. So yeah, it's the most duped lineup is what we were trying to accomplish last night. And today we're trying to accomplish projecting the ownership for every single play in the tournament. As a reminder,
historically,
go ahead.
Well, when we go into this, we often talk about how you've done in the past. People want to know that historically you've done incredibly well. Your process includes tracking your projected and actual for at least more than a half decade now. I mean, you've got to have 5-6 years.
Yeah, since 2020.
And you have historically done incredibly well. There's sometimes some guys that get steamed and not steamed. At this point, there is a little bit of that leveling where your ownership projections do get viewed by a lot of people that are playing the tournament. And I think there's, they can influence
that's
some of the
actually
guys who become popular plays and the stuff that we talk about on the channel. We're all looking for the guys who did this.
Right.
But historically, you've done incredibly well, right? When you've tracked it.
I have, yeah. I mean, I've had some misses. A couple years ago, Tyreek Hill in that cold weather Dolphins game I had over projected because everyone was just like, I'm not playing the Dolphins. So there's been some misses.
Projector, not a weather projector.
Yeah. Well, no, it was a narrative. It was a miss on the narrative. It was cold weather Dolphins. They didn't want any part of it. And
these ownership projections just have a slightly higher normal freezing
historically did not want any part of that.
They don't hold up in freezing temperatures.
Corinne, I actually have a meta question while we're here.
Yeah.
Because I know that the field is going to be a little different this year because I think some more serious guys are playing it. I've seen in these deep dark corners of Discord where people are talking about simming the FFPC playoff challenge and some stuff like that.
And that's not in the spirit of what we're doing here, guys.
It's not in the spirit of first off, if you're using Sims on the FFPC, I mean, basically fuck you. Like you don't get what we're doing here. But I would like to ask you, did that change anything about the process of projecting ownership? Did you flatten things out at all as a result of that?
A little. I also so far I still feel like this is mostly a contest where it's not like a sharp, it's not like just dominated by sharp players that are using projections and computers. There's a lot of people just like entering lineups. They might do a handful of lineups. So I still think it's I'm projecting it pretty similarly to how I've been projecting in the past. But as I was actually today, I was kind of going through and kind of hearing what other people's favorite plays were and using that to kind of adjust the ownership projections. I may ultimately kind of come away from that and more towards the highest projected plays. Cause I think that'll, like, if you want to just say, well, the sharp players are coming in and it's going to be more math driven, it'll just go to the more high projected plays. Like there's some spots.
Imagine what Kelsey's ownership would be in a sim, an old version of the Chiefs.
I wonder about that. Like, because it's got to be a breaking point. Like, I know in DFS, since the Sims have been introduced more, like you get more of the popular plays, but I don't know if that's where we are in this format. Like
in some spots we're not. I think in some spots we are.
Let's talk like JSN for an example, right? So like
that would not be an example of what I mean, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough then. The reason I was going to talk through that one is just because I was writing him up before I got on here. Like, he's going to be super owned, obviously reasonably super owned. But like, what do you think his optimal ownership should be? Not his projected ownership, but like, what would be you think the super correct ownership? Like, well
way up there.
But like, I think it would be like 72. Like, I was trying to map this out.
I was going to say 75. Something.
It's like, how likely are the Seahawks to win their first game? And you have to aggregate 3 different opponents in that. And I landed on about 60%. And it's like, in the world where they win, he's probably like 90% likely.
Wait, they're only 60% to win their first game?
Probably. I mean, if they play the Rams, they're going to be like a 1-point favorite. And then if they play the Niners, it'll probably be like 3. If they play the Packers, it'd be like 6.
They'll be 3.5 against the 49ers.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I said that is they're pretty strong. Yeah, no, it's fair that if they play the Rams, that it's going to be close. But They're
They're like 50,
pretty strong Super Bowl favorites right now. I guess I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective, though. They're not even that likely to win one game, but they're also the most likely team to win the Super Bowl based on the odds. It's yeah. Anyway, it's kind of a mind.
Well, I mean, they're a plurality.
That's when you start getting into the. Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, it's like no one no one's that. I mean, like that's like the Rams against the Panthers. It's like the only team that you would say are like nearly certain to win one game. But like everyone else is like, I think it's like even the 3.5 point favorites, they grade out to what, like roughly 65%. Like they're like 2/3 to win their games. If you're looking at like Philly and Houston. So anyway, I mean, you can quibble with the numbers, but basically I would say like he's like 90% to be the guy if they play multiple games. And so that gets you like 55% ownership. And then what percentage is he to be the optimal anyways if they lose, like in the other 40%? Like it's hard to say. Like I'm not doing sims in my head, but like I would say roughly 50-50. So like that gets you to like 75% ownership. So
I think even higher.
I think he's going to be higher than that though. You think he's higher than 50% to be in the optimal lineup if they lose round one?
No, not to be in the optimal. I was thinking to be the best play on the Seahawks, but you're right. If they lose in one game,
Seahawks.
Yeah, it becomes pretty difficult to be the
Kenny
best.
Gainwell beats them, or like yeah.
Right. Well, let's start there. There's some spots, Jacob, where I'm not sure that the higher projected play is going to get played enough. We'll get to a couple of those.
I was going to say that feels likely to me because there are several teams that have fan favorites who are not going to be the highest projected player on their team.
Right. All right. So we'll go through team by team. Is that? Oh, yeah. Is team by team how you think it makes the most sense? Okay.
Yeah, that's how we've always done it. Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. So this is the Seahawks.
Zoom in more. You got to go to like 150.
I'm at 150. Let me get 200.
200.
Here's 200.
If you do Command Plus, you can zoom in even more. Not that it's fine.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So this right here,
you guys know the seeds.
So this is basically exactly my exact thought of the best play not getting owned enough, because I cannot imagine spending 200 site credits on FFPC and clicking one of these running backs or clicking the kicker or clicking the defense. Like, I think this was the first one I spot where I was like, okay, maybe.
Well, the counter to that is the Sam Darnold thing. Like, people do think they can lose in their first game, right? I think you're right. Yeah. Like, there's been a lot of these types of plays in the past, and sorry, I kind of cut you off, but where you're going with you're the same way. It'd be really hard to cut. It would be really hard to click anyone other than JSN, like Walker or whatever. But I think Pat was saying this last night. If you're not going to play him, and that's why he has the defense and the kicker as both 4% and combining for 8% soft fade. I think you're telling yourself that the Seahawks are just going to lose, and you're like, I'm soft fading him.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. The soft fade is actually a good play. I think it'll be underplayed. I have JSN a little higher than you do, Pat. I just have less going to the riffraff. Like I don't have anything on Barner or Darnold, but maybe they get a little bit. I don't have anything on Cobb. I think that this is roughly though what it'll be right. I think more interestingly is how much you want to play the Seattle fade stuff. I think the Seattle fade stuff is pretty sharp in a percentage of lineups. Like I'll obviously have JSN in the majority of my lineups, but I'll do some Seattle fade. I will not do any lineups, I think, with Sharps, Walker, Barner.
I heard some people touting the riffraff a little bit. I'm actually going to take Walker down. I'll take these running backs down a little bit.
I think if you're going to pivot off JSN to the riffraff, I think there's a clear play. And I think it's Barner because of the tight end situation.
Yep.
I do think, because I don't think he has to outscore JSN to be the optimal tight end. It's more about the constraint of there's not a lot of good tight ends, right? Or the good tight ends could be dominated by their teammates. Sorry. Like Kittle could score 15, but CMC, if they win a game, they play multiple games, CMC scores 40, right? Or Kittle scores 20 in 2 games. CMC scores 40, and Seattle loses in 1 game, and Barner is only 5 points behind JSN. The way that math works out is like Barner's going to wind up being right for over Kittle or more often.
So my counterpoint to that is just like obviously life doesn't work always as linearly as you think, but like in theory, it's easier to hard fade a really high owned like Saquon or James Cook because like them losing and them disappointing as a scorer is just correlated. Whereas like Barner JSN is the opposite of that. Barner gets there through touchdowns. Like it's not like
Right.
a Dalton Schultz who gets there through like 6-7 catches. To me, if Barner is scoring 12, he's scoring in the end zone, and then that means Seattle's even more likely to win. So like I don't love fading
You're
a
the
guy
zoomer.
hoping your
You
team
just-
loses while
you
betting
just
on a
said-
guy who gets there through touchdowns.
You just said 6-7 catches, and my kids would be going nuts right now. I just want you to know that.
Oh god.
I heard a few different people talk about Charbonnet as a play today, through the idea that he's a better bet to score a touchdown than Walker.
Just feels so fancy.
Fisher says I'd take Walker at 1%, so he gets a big run and outscores JSN. I think all of this is basically people betting on Seattle to not advance, but not wanting to outright, fade them through the kicker or whatever. So there's going to be some of that. Maybe I'm slightly.
There will
overreacting
be
that,
some.
but-
I don't think you're wrong to have
There will be
some on the riffraff. Jacob, what were you saying? Sorry, I got so caught up in the 6-7 about because so Barner is likely to score by catching a touchdown. My argument was JSN could dominate, go 7 for 85, or like mostly dominate a low pass volume game where they just kind of lose a lower scoring game, which Seattle can obviously play those types of games. Barner could go 3 for 30 with a touchdown in like a 21-17 loss or something. And Barner's going to be optimal, even if he scores slightly fewer points, or he would actually score more, I think, in that scenario. But you see what I'm saying? Like, because of the touchdown thing, I actually think that's what Hawkinson did to Jefferson last year in the Vikings upset loss.
He's just saying it's thin because you're betting on a loss.
Totally see what you're. Yeah, like I see what you're saying completely, and my pushback is just, and it's not a pushback on 2% ownership. That's fine. It's just like why I don't think I would like it as much is just if I'm looking at ways to fade the team with the really high owned guy. We all agree we want to do that in a loss. I don't want to bet on a guy whose path to scoring is predominantly driven by touchdowns while simultaneously betting on his team to lose. Because like
Exactly.
the guys
That's
who get
what
there
I
through
was going to
touchdowns
say.
are more correlated to their team winning. So to me, it's easier to bet on.
I hear that logic, and I guess I just disagree with it because in a lot, it doesn't matter how many team touchdowns there's going to be if you're going to outscore JSN. If there's a bunch of team touchdowns, then you're more likely to get one for Barner and one for JSN. The Vikings example is relevant. They scored one touchdown and Hawkinson caught it. Like the scenarios where I want them to score one touchdown exactly, and I want the guy who has a high TD profile that he could be the guy who catches one TD, and then it's not JSN and it is Barner, right? Like I don't want a bunch of points, a ton of Seattle points. More,
I think it makes
JSN's
sense.
Gonna...
Yeah, Barner, Charbonnet is the thing I actually have trouble with because like Charbonnet's kind of getting rolling downhill. They're doing the the style offense they want to do. They're playing their game, and they lose. So Barner does feel a little bit easier to see how he outscores JSN in a loss. Because it's just some garbage touchdown he happens to get.
It's one TD. Yeah.
Why is it between AJ Barner and Muhammad? Like it's like the
AJ Barner and who?
Bad reference. It's a super bad joke.
Oh.
Why is it between this and Muhammad? Anyway, someone in the chat will get it. But I would just say like if I'm betting on that scenario, like instead of hoping that AJ Barner
just take the soft
Seattle's one touchdown, I'm just playing their kicker or their defense.
Yeah.
And I'm
The reason it's AJ Barner or Muhammad is the tight end position again. Like that was the reason that he stands out over Charbonnet or anyone else.
Like obviously the one touchdown thing can work, but it's one of those things that can work in hindsight. Like obviously that worked, but it's not the kind of thing that you would want to strategize around. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you. Barner is McLovin. I appreciate it.
All right, I'm gonna get us back on track. AJ Barner's not gonna be played, and we don't want to play him. Right? We're not trying to play AJ Barner, and no one's gonna play AJ Barner. So let's move on.
I want to play AJ Barner. I think he's a great play. If you,
I don't really think he's a very good play.
I think he's a bad play.
I think he's a pretty bad play. Yeah.
All right.
Just so people know, because 80% came in, there was like, it's a little low, and I moved it up to 82, so I don't disagree. But this represents the third highest single play since at least 2020, because I've been doing this since 2020, and I have everything in a spreadsheet. So Cooper Kupp back in 2021 was 91%, and back in 2023, CeeDee Lamb was 87%. But But last year, the highest owned was 78. There's usually someone in this general range, but this is pretty high. So I'm not, I don't think I'm.
So
I think I'm giving it due.
We should go to Denver. I do want to like circle back. I don't want to like, this isn't about Barner. This is about the contest. We didn't talk about it last year. I've talked about it basically every year. We always fixate on the constraint of you play one player from each team, and then we talk about all the teammates against each other. There's two constraints in this contest. The other major constraint is the positional like requirements, right? And it doesn't. So when I talk about the tight end thing, just to explain this to the audience, it doesn't require Barner to outscore JSN. It just requires him to be the relatively best tight end play relative to his teammates out of all the tight end plays in the tournament. And it's a really weak tight end field. And there's I think a strong possibility this year. There's no flex tight end, and the best tight end play is not the highest scorer on his team. He's just the guy that made the most sense to the puzzle because he was closest to his teammates. And so like Barner could be the guy by scoring 6 points if Seattle's offense is shit. Like that's probably not likely because there's probably going to be a better tight end from one of the eliminated.
It's probably not likely because the answer
that would make them a
not
fake
to play Seattle.
I was going to say,
that would
if
make
he
them a
gets 6
fake.
points and they lose,
definitely
then
not
you're gonna
likely
want.
because Tyler Lute missed that kick. You guys are going to get the joke eventually.
That was an Isaiah likely joke.
I got it. It just wasn't very good.
No, yeah.
Anyway,
All right, let's go to the next team.
All right, let's go to
12
the next
points
team.
can be very playable.
Yeah.
Yes, 12 points.
It is a
definitely
good
be
point,
playable.
Gretch. As much as I disagree on Barter specifically, I agree with your point holistically.
I don't think Barter's a crazy player or anything. I just don't think he's like a smash. I think.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
hang
he's not
on.
a smash.
Before we go to Denver, I do want to just get your thoughts on Sam Darnold, who I have at 2%, and I think it's probably not going to get played. But this is the type of team that tends to get the quarterback, tends to have some quarterback ownership. Obviously, I don't think it happens this year because of JSN, and no one really wants to play Darnold, I don't think. But
Darnold is viewed as the problem on this team.
Right.
Like he's viewed as the limiting
36%
factor.
chance to make the Super Bowl. That's the highest of any team,
Mhm.
and yet the quarterback won't probably be played.
What did
kinda
people play? So you said he's the type of quarterback that people normally play, and that's true from the perspective of the 36% to make the Super Bowl, like you just said.
Yeah.
He's not from the perspective that it's in a very concentrated passing game. Did people play
true.
Stafford in the past when Cooper Kupp was really high owned? That's what I would look at.
So
Because I don't think they did.
The year that I
only
referenced. I mean, they couldn't
complicating
have
factor is the Rams were a
because
4
Cup was
seed that year,
91%.
so people
So, yeah. I mean, it literally, it comes directly at the expense of the other guy. Stafford.
So the whole thing is like,
came in-
if the Seahawks go to the Super Bowl,
Stafford
and
was
Sam
2%
Darnold-
that year.
he was 2%. And Darnold scores some points, everyone's going to tell themselves, well, I would just do JSN. It's like what you were talking about last night, where people would start to do the Josh Allen, and then they'd get down to Cook, and then they'll switch to Drake May and James Cook or whatever. Like if they'll put Darnold in their lineup, then they'll get down to like wide receiver, and then they'll be like, actually, I want to just play JSN. If I'm picking Seattle to win the Super Bowl, I just want to play JSN. They're not going to the Super Bowl with JSN not leading their offense. They're like AJ Barner's not carrying him to the Super Bowl. No one's talking to you guys.
And it's
not
Another comp would be Mahomes from last year, where Travis Kelce was big chalk. Mahomes was only 6%, and that was a bye week team. You wanted, it's nice to have Mahomes in the Super Bowl, right? But people didn't play him really. So I do think that Darnold will be pretty much unplayed, but just wanted to note that because, you're getting your quarterback to the Super Bowl, you get double points there. It's usually something people are excited about. In this case, they won't be,
he's not even a high scoring QB though. And JSN is such a high scoring receiver that it's a unique team. I don't think people are going to play him, and I don't think you really should.
No. But a quarterback we should play, to segue to my biggest take of this entire tournament. Can I cook for like 2 minutes on Bo Nix?
Go ahead.
To be clear, I'm not saying that Pat is underprojecting his ownership. I hope that he isn't, because that would make my entire
I don't think I am
less effective. But like we were just talking about with JSN and Sam Darnold, I feel like the whole meta of this field is that you have these NFC quarterbacks that have really, really good teammates, and you have these AFC quarterbacks that have very spread teammates. So it seems overwhelmingly likely, I think, that the optimal quarterback is going to come from the AFC. And as long as it's not the Texans in the Super Bowl, I think whichever AFC quarterback gets to the Super Bowl is definitely not guaranteed, but is very likely to be the optimal quarterback, because you have May with a very spread out offense, you have Lawrence with a fairly spread out offense, and you have Bo Nix with a fairly spread out offense. The Denver Broncos are 30% chance to make the Super Bowl. And Bo Nix is dealing with one of the least concentrated offenses of anyone. He has mobility. He has rushing equity. I genuinely think if Bo Nix actually gets to the Super Bowl, he's going to be against an NFC quarterback that has a way higher level of teammate competition than him. He's going to have effectively an extra game, because the Super Bowl counts twice, over any other AFC quarterback. He's going to have he's going to have 3 extra games over Lawrence or Allen, and he's going to have at least one over one of Allen or Lawrence or May.
It's a great take, but why are you throwing out all the NFC QBs? What about like Jalen Hurts or Caleb Williams? Those teams are probably going to meet in the second round. One of those guys is probably going to play
Their
3
Super Bowl
games.
equity is
Yeah,
so
I mean,
much lower.
the Super Bowl equity on the Bears is really bad. If Caleb gets there, they for sure Caleb could be optimal. I totally agree with that. I think if the Eagles get to the Super Bowl and it's Eagles Denver, I think that obviously there's possibilities for Hurts for sure, but I think you would win a significant majority of simulations with Nix, Barkley versus Hurts, Harvey, or Sutton. I would guess, not in every single one. And if it's the Rams, or if it's the Niners, or if it's the Seahawks, you're, I think, a heavy favorite with Nix. Puka,
I don't think you're
Nix,
a heavy
JSN,
favorite over
Nix,
Purdy and
DNC.
Stafford the way the offenses have worked this year. I don't think you're a heavy favorite.
With
I think you're a
McCaffrey
reasonably
and
heavy
Puka?
favorite.
The 49ers have
The
the
Knicks is gonna
49ers have
outscore
Kittle,
his
they have
teammates.
Jennings, you
Nix
have
averages
Adams
like
and
6 more
Puka
points
and
per game than
Kyron.
his teammates. These guys don't. Like, I think you're a pretty, like, I'm not saying you're guaranteed. Like, I'm not saying Nix has a 30%
The way to think about
chance to
that,
be
though,
optimal, but,
Davis, like Purdy can spread around a bunch of touchdowns, but it becomes, even if Purdy outscores Nix, it becomes Purdy over Nix by more than CMC over Harvey or CMC over
Correct.
Sutton.
Yes.
And that
I
gap's
think
going to
what'll
be
happen. I
larger.
think what you'll
and
be
that
going
makes it
against.
Nix.
I think you'll be going against CMC and Harvey, not, or you know what I mean, or like,
yeah,
you'll basically be a 1v1 versus the other Bronco. You'll probably have a similar, or maybe you don't. Maybe it's a Kittle. Maybe there's some Kittle team and you have CMC, or vice versa. But I don't know. I don't think the opposite quarterback is probably even who you're fading.
So I started out.
It's very likely that the optimal quarterback is it's like a slight oversimplification, but I don't think it's much of one. That the optimal quarterback will simply be whichever quarterback outscores his teammates by the most number of points.
That's right. And it's a good.
And I think
it's a
that
good
Bo
take.
Nix is very likely. I think he's actually the most likely to be that quarterback, and
It's
he's because he has double the Super Bowl odds of Josh Allen and Drake May, double the Super Bowl odds of those guys. I don't understand why. I get that he's going to be low owned because people don't like Bo Nix.
Because he gets the bye.
It's an egregious ownership by the field.
Part of
the
issue for Nix
hurt him versus the AFC quarterbacks. The bye would only hurt him versus NFC quarterbacks, because if he gets to the Super Bowl, he's still getting more games than the AFC guys. Because if
I know he still gets more games, but it's by one, and he has to get to the Super Bowl to get there. So if he doesn't get to the Super Bowl, the bye does hurt him. If he doesn't get to the Super Bowl, he only gets 2 games. I can get 2 games just by getting to the conference championship game. But also, the other AFC quarterback.
If he doesn't get to the Super Bowl, he's not going to be optimal.
The other part of this is his teammates
but the other guys can be optimal without getting to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying.
His teammates get the extra game too, though. This is the part that I don't think you're saying well enough, Jacob. Is if May plays 3 games because he and then loses in the conference championship to Denver, like it goes chalky by seed, and Nix gets 4. May versus teammates is May's level of QB scoring is higher than Nix's, and his teammates are only going to get 3 games. Nix's teammates are going to get 4, Harvey and Sutton, and they're going to get that double Super Bowl. And if one of them has 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, that gap with the QB and the best Bronco could be pretty narrow compared to, I mean, yes, May's not going to score
Allen.
I mean,
Allen has the exact same dynamic. If
this is the whole contest. It's why I was saying the thing on the tight end. Every year in our little spreadsheet with me and Pat and Pete and Leone, I've looked
at a way better play, but Allen can go nuclear. Allen can be optimal in 3 very easily, and then you have Harvey or Sutton double points in the Super Bowl, and you don't have a quarterback on the other side. You have JSN or Puka or CMC or Barkley or whoever else. And yeah, you don't need the quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Well, if Nix goes to the Super Bowl, unless the Chargers beat the Patriots, if Nix goes to the Super Bowl, Allen only gets 2 games.
Well, the Chargers are like 3-point dogs. They're like they could easily beat the Patriots. Yeah,
sure, everything's conceivable.
No, I mean it's like a 35,
his ownership
40,
to make sense,
no, I
though.
think it's like 45% or something, right? It's
Okay,
like
but
it's not conceivable. It's like it's closer to a coin flip than
But if we
there are some
his
scenarios. You're overstating the Knicks thing a little bit because there are some scenarios where he does get hurt, even if he plays by the bye, like Pat's saying, and like we were just talking about. But I also think you're right. Your broad point is right that Knicks is a good play at 6% for the same reason. I was just going to say this, every year when we do this the spreadsheet, we do a bunch of teams, me and Pat and Leone and Dink and Pete, and we track our teams. And I've always had a little tab where I like to actually track the actual scoring and start to get a feel for like what I think is going to be optimal with the different positions. And this is why I keep harping this point on tight end. It's like a learned thing where when I have gone through the different positions, I've learned that it's not always a top scorer at a position even. And the biggest example is kicker. Last year, there was like a 13-point kicker. Can't remember who it was that it could not be in a 1-game loss because their D scored like 20 or something. And it was like, it can't be the kicker optimal because it has to be the D, or it was a really good position player score. And the optimal kicker ended up being a kicker who scored like 2 points because the reason was he didn't have any, like all the kickers in losing games had like 2 or 3 points. So they were all super, super low, or maybe it was 3 points. It was like Boswell with 3 ended up actually being optimal because like,
which was frustrating because he was the chalk.
He was the chalk and he didn't even score any points. But the skill position in loss guys that scored points knocked out the kickers that actually scored some points. And so it forced it down to these like few teams that were either soft fades or hard fades. They were like, none of the kickers did well. And Boswell's like 3 points was actually very live, even though it was crap. My point is you get all these different weird constraints when the team scores all these points. That's going to work in Knicks' favor if they do go to the Super Bowl, like you were saying, because if he does spread everything out like he can, like even if he's not the highest scoring QB, even if May outscores him or something, there can be these benefits for him by being better than, all of his teammates, and they're not the right answer at the other positions. And there's nothing that disqualifies him from being the optimal QB. Like the thing that happens to like Darnold not being, if it's a Denver Seattle thing, is that JSN has to be the wide receiver because he scored so many points. When you start to look at the numbers, you're like, okay, it has to be JSN. So Darnold's disqualified. The math can't work out for him, even though he scored the same amount of points as Knicks. But there won't be anyone on Denver that disqualifies Knicks at a different position, I think is the main point.
That's my point. I mean, what I'm trying to say is if you think the odds are wrong, then you have a take. That's fine. But like if you accept that the ESPN model, which says Denver's 30% to make the Super Bowl, is more or less correct, then
this is a good point though, because it is fake and it's not going to happen.
Okay, well, sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, if your take is it's fake and it's not going to happen, then whatever. But like, if you accept that the 30% is more or less correct, then to justify 6% being an efficient ownership, you're basically saying, in the world that Bo Nix makes the Super Bowl, he's only 20% to be the optimal quarterback. That is just not true. Like, there's just no world in which he is only the optimal quarterback in 1 out of 5 circumstances that he makes the Super Bowl. You can't make that math work to me. I'm not saying he's guaranteed to be the quarterback, but he's at least 50% to be the quarterback if he makes the Super Bowl. Like, so I think his ownership, I'm not saying that your ownership projection is wrong.
I don't know if it's that
but I
high.
think it should be way higher.
I don't know if it's 50 at least. Well, I mean, it could be close to that.
I don't think it's the thing that I think the dynamic that really hurts the Knicks play is that you have, so Knicks is like, hey, spread out quarterback, you're going to get 3+ games, in the sense that you either get 2 or 4 with Knicks, but let's call it 3+ games because it helps my point. And it's like, he's going to outscore his teammates by a bunch. And once you hit that, once you get to that 4-game version, it's great. But you have the exact same dynamic with Allen and May. And yes, with Allen, you have Cook, but the passing game doesn't really go through Cook. There's certain types of Bills games where it's like it's all Allen. He's just like crushing. Sometimes Cook comes along for the ride if they're putting it on somebody. But there are outcomes where Allen is necessary and Cook didn't really do anything, which makes him even more necessary. And then May has a very similar dynamic to Knicks. So those guys, and there's 2 of them, can get there in 3 games. To your point, if the Bills get 3, the Patriots only got 1, which helps
That's what I'm
Knicks.
saying.
But
Only one of them can get
No,
2.
but so
And
there's an
the
NFC
Jags
team
can,
too. There's
Yeah.
definitely an NFC
And then
team
there's
that
the
plays 3 games. And there's also an NFC team that plays 4 at minimum, which so I think you really need Seattle or else you get because in some sense, well, okay, yes, Rams or Niners would make sense. But if the Rams and Seattle, I think really work in favor of Knicks. You guys were saying the Eagles and the Bears are not likely. The Eagles and Bears are the 2 and 3.
The Eagles
seeds.
are
One
reasonably
of them,
likely. The Eagles are as
one of-
likely
reasonably
as
likely. Eagles are
and when you do the Eagles plus the Bears, one of them is really pretty likely to play 3 games because if they both win, they play each other and it's a lock. If one of them gets upset, they get to host the next round, and the other one that wins gets to host the next round and is going to be favored to move. So if the Eagles lose in the first round, Bears become pretty big not huge favorites, but favorites to move on, and vice versa. Or maybe not huge. I don't know how it would all work out, but I do think one of Caleb Williams or Jalen Hurts getting 3 games and like Drake May getting 3 games could be an outcome in the same playoff where Nix gets 4. And so when you're saying it's 50% likely to be Bo Nix when the Broncos make the Super Bowl.
Also Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor Lawrence gets 3
I think
games,
Lawrence, I think all of these guys, like everyone else that you're suggesting, I think are all great plays. Like Nix is my favorite. Mostly, I think that Allen and May consolidating all of this ownership just does not make a lot of sense to me. Like,
I don't think it happens in the sense.
And again, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense in the sense that your ownership projection is wrong. I think your ownership projection is right. I'm just saying I think those guys are going to be really overplayed.
That's all a factor of Allen. Allen is the
up.
one that's going to be overplayed. He's going on the road to the Jaguars, who are a good team, and then he's going to go probably if he wins on the road at the Broncos, who are a good team. And if he doesn't win 2 games, it does get tricky. He could get there in 2.
Do you guys care that Nix is likely to put up a really brutal score, particularly in round 2? Does that matter at all?
That absolutely matters. This is the other thing I was going to get at is Nix's level of scoring.
They're going to play the Texans at home.
Jacob, I've done this. I've done the same thing with plays before, and then you get into the contest and you look at it, and you're like, oh wait, it's not just in theory. Not all the QBs score the same amount of points. You're like, this has to score points for him to be like the obvious play. Because some of the quarterbacks going to have some big games. Like Jalen Hurts could have some monster games.
Against everyone but the Texans, I would expect, particularly because of I know we've all had this experience of watching Bo Nix where you're just like, you're watching the game and he's just like running around and he throws like the worst pass you've ever seen, but somehow Troy Franklin is completely uncovered. And like they're at the 3-yard line and Jaleel McLaughlin gets stuffed 3 times and Sean Payton goes for it. Jesus. And then Nix converts a touchdown to fucking Adam
Who put
Troutman.
on the Broncos game right now?
We've all lived through this. So like I started out when we first talked about this and Jacob said Bo Nix, I was like, there's not a chance in hell. And then I've been sitting and thinking about it. And I've ultimately determined that one, if the heuristic is AFC quarterback greater than NFC quarterback, because particularly of the running back projections, I wholly agree. And then if you take that further down the path, you do get to Nix as being a particular.
The AFC NFC thing only works if you're really fixated on Seattle and the Rams being the 2 big favorites in the NFC. But if it's another team in the NFC,
well, the Eagles
are the next team. The Bears are tied as the next team after that. So if we're just locking in, the Super Bowl odds this year, they are what they are. I don't know that I buy them as being even as I don't know if I buy them
either, but the odds are what they are.
So Fisher's saying Jacob probably wants to get to like 15 and we're treating it like he wants to get to 30. Is that where you want to get to? Or you
Well, I think his optimal ownership should be about 15. I think his ownership is going to be 6, and as a result, I'm playing 35.
Yeah. Okay. Nick's
because I just think it's really wrong. So I'm going to play way over.
But even 35 is
probably right.
Yeah. Like I'm going to play way over what I think it should be because I think he's owned way less than he should be. If his actual ownership was 15,
let's talk about the other Broncos.
Only play 15.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other Broncos. Yeah. I don't think anyone is saying the ownership here is wrong. I think we're all.
I do think Nix is going to get steamed after this discussion. I do think he's going to end up 10 or 12.
Like I don't actually think he will because I think there's better plays. I prefer Hurts at 6 than Nix at 6%. I don't think Hurts will be 6%.
Hurts will be more.
We'll get to him. I don't think he'll be massively owned, but I don't think he'll be 6. So if you want,
let's circle back on Nix.
Nix, I do think will be low owned because it's frankly, it gets gross, and that you don't want to click it. But I do think he's a good play at 6%. I don't want to play 35% because he's a good play.
Jacob just said, I don't think people want to click Sutton or Harvey all that bad, do they?
Well, so this is what I wanted to get your thoughts on. Sutton has been someone I have raised every single time I've done this. When you do playoff best ball, Harvey goes first, Sutton goes shortly after, but there's, the report that J.K. Dobbins will be back, and
not until the conference championship, according to Peyton.
But that still has a pretty big impact if you're if you're taking
Dobbins
Harvey
in the Super Bowl, that feels gross to have Harvey. If Dobbins,
it feels really gross to have Harvey, so that's going to hurt Harvey. And I've just heard like a lot of people liking Sutton, and I think in part because people don't love Denver. I've got some soft fade on Denver. Denver defense up at 18%, which, by the way, for a team that has a 30% chance to make the Super Bowl, I have a 25% total fade, soft and hard fade on Denver, which is really high. Really high. And it took me a few iterations to get there because that's not what we typically see. But I do think like Baltimore 2 years ago when it was Lamar and no one really wanted to play anyone else. They were 23.
Or did people just love playing Henry?
What year was that?
One. They were
the one. Was that
in
2020?
2020. Because that to me is the one seed that most resembles how people feel about Denver.
I don't think I have that.
Derrick Henry and AJ Brown were way sexier plays.
The Titans fake one seed was 2019.
Yeah, I don't have that. I wasn't doing it in 2019.
All right.
How funny that we basically have two fake one seeds this year.
I don't know that they're. I just don't believe it.
It's a wide open. Who's Davis? The Chiefs aren't in the bracket, dude. There's no who's the favorite then? Like
that's what I said.
Well, everyone's acting like the Bills are the favorite. I think you'll lose on Sunday. Like
everyone's
so 2019 was the rate. So 2021's the year you're talking about. The Titans were 16% total faded.
But they had
in
Derrick
2021
Henry on their team, who people like.
Yeah, everyone just played
way
Henry.
more than they like Sutton or Harvey. Yeah.
But
Henry was 55%.
The Titans that year were not plus 650 to win the Super Bowl going into the postseason.
No, they were like the 11th. Well, because they were home underdogs to the Chiefs.
Right,
they were lower.
They were going to play the
to
Chiefs
make
in
the
their
Super
first.
Bowl. They were 21% to make the Super Bowl that year.
Titans,
yeah. That's what I have
to make the Super Bowl.
As a one seed. That's so fucking funny.
So what's the Broncos are the favorite to win the AFC. What are they to win the AFC this year? The Broncos.
They're like 30 to 33, depending on where you
30 to 33. Okay.
Yeah.
The point I was making about the Broncos being a fake one seed is because the Chiefs aren't in. I basically think every team but the Steelers is like pretty live to win.
Right. And the Broncos play one fewer game, which is
Sutton
helpful.
Versus Harvey. Just some thoughts there.
It can hurt your point too, though, Jacob. The Broncos playing one fewer game.
Oh, sure. I get all that. I mean, the other half of my Denver take is not only the pro Bo Nix, pro Denver take. It's I also think that Denver D and kicker and full fade are fantastic. Like I think like Harvey and Sutton. I'm oversimplifying, and you guys made like a lot of great points about all the different intricacies of how everything can play out that I accept and agree with. But like, if someone just came to you and they gave you the Gray Sports Almanac and they were like, Denver makes the Super Bowl, who would you want? I would want Nix. If they tell me Denver plays exactly 2 games, I would want Sutton or Harvey. And if they told me Denver loses their first game, I would want to fade them. I think that Sutton and Harvey, their total ownership cumulatively is going to substantially outpace the percentage that they actually are optimal.
That's a massive simplification what you just did. Because if you did that same exercise with Seattle, I would say if they go to the Super Bowl, I want JSN like 99%. If Denver goes to the Super Bowl, I want Bo Nix by like the hair on my chin. Like I also want some Sutton and I also want some Harvey and I want to consider other paths.
Like, well, what happened in the AFC? What about did Mayor Allen get 3 games? Did Lawrence?
You guys are all saying that Denver's so fraudulent. If they do make the Super Bowl, maybe they get blown out. Sutton scores the 1 touchdown. Nick scores like 10 points in the double 0.1. And Sutton actually is clearly the wide receiver play because he gets the double points. If they don't score points in the Super Bowl, the double thing for Nick doesn't matter, right? I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
He's got to go to the Super Bowl, win Super Bowl MVP for you to be like super stoked about having.
Be clear, Ben. You want Nix in the Super Bowl by the hair on your chin or the hair on your lip?
Hair on my lip, right here. Yeah.
That's okay. So he's a good play.
The other angle I'd bring up for Sutton, and again, this is like less of an ownership projection criticism than like a play criticism, but like there are 3 plausible matchups, right, that they get in round 2. They get the Bills, who's the hardest matchup all year for outside wide receivers, or they get the Texans, which is Derek Stingley, or they get the Chargers, who you want to run on. None of those are fun. Like if they lose in round 1, I think Sutton is like if someone told you the Steelers lose in one game and Denver loses in one game, Sutton and Harvey are like drawing even with Metcalf and Gainwell to be in the optimal.
Yeah. I think so. I'd rather.
Now, Denver's more likely to win.
Metcalf, but yeah, they're not. It's not a huge difference. Let me on the ownership. I do want to get your guys' thoughts specifically on the ownership for Sutton and Harvey, because
I feel like the Boomers just love Sutton. It's so
they love
hard for
Sutton.
them
I
to
think,
Harvey.
and so Sutton, I just literally raised up even more. A couple people in the chat have been saying, Sutton needed to come up. I'm Sutton at 50%.
The more Jacob talks, the more I want to jam Sutton. I'm like, I mean, he doesn't understand all these other iterations. He's simplifying things
Harvey
way too
strikes
far.
me as a pretty good play if he's sub 20%. Harvey will project better than Sutton.
I want no part of Sutton at that ownership, but I could see how it gets there.
So I think people feel more comfortable with Sutton, because it's like, oh, if they lose, I have the receiver, so it's fine. I don't have to like bet on Denver. I don't think people will take Nix because they don't want to bet on Denver. I think they'll take Denver D because they don't want to bet on Denver. And I don't think they'll take Harvey because they don't want to bet on Denver. I don't think there's a lot of people want to bet on Denver. So Sutton, and frankly, if you do want to bet on Denver, Sutton's a decent way to do it. And they're not a fun team. They're not a fun team.
Yeah. I mean, they're the number 1 seed. They've been very good all year. And to Jacob's point, the odds are strongly in their favor. This is why I think Nix is going to come in higher than you're thinking too. I do think people are going to think about it.
You think Nix comes in higher?
A little bit. I do think there's enough sharp people in this contest that are going to think about it and go, this isn't the year to play Josh Allen. Historically, Josh Allen's come in really, really high, but James Cook had a really great year, and they're not a 2 seed this year. The Bills are always home team in the next round. This year, they're road against 2 really good defenses. It's a tough path for the Bills. I think if you look at the bracket for 3 seconds, you tell yourself, well, maybe I just want to play James Cook. Maybe I want to go play a quarterback from a team I actually think is going to like make a long run. It's tough. Like I've done like a playoff. Obviously, I'm not doing like a bunch of underdog or stuff like that, but I've done like a playoff contest. I do a draft every year that's like $100 buy-in or whatever. And I got one of the top picks, and I was sitting there and I was having to think about it. And Allen made a lot of sense. And I didn't want to buy into them making a run this year because I think their path is tough.
Well, maybe Nix comes up. Maybe Nix is more like 8%, and Harvey actually comes down a little bit, because the Dobbins thing, it just, people I think are just going to have a hard time clicking him. So, and I don't think Sutton is going to get much higher than this. So maybe I do actually have Nix a couple percentage low. Let's move on though.
50 seems aggressive.
Yeah, we do got to move on.
All right, let's go. Which 2 seed do you guys want to do first?
We're 48 minutes in. We've gone through the 2.
We're an hour in.
Sorry,
We've done
guys.
2 teams.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah. Which 2 seed?
I want to do the
Bears?
Bears because I have no sense of what this is going to be. So, dude, just let me say this to you. If you are fading the fucking Chicago Bears in this contest, if you're part of this 12%, grow up. Truly.
What?
Why?
What
I
do you
wasn't
mean?
planning on it, but now I'm going to join them.
I'm definitely going to fade
now
them
I want
now.
to join them. Now I'm fading them.
They're
Have
50-50
fun.
to win round 1. They're a perfectly acceptable fade team.
I gotta hear where this
They're
optimism. In our chat, Dink, who's a lifelong Bears fan, was like already so sad because they're playing the Packers.
You can't do Dink. Dink is the exact opposite of a homer. Dink is forever. He is such a fatalist. He doesn't. He will not believe that the Bears are going to win the
He's
Super
seen the
Bowl.
story before. He said he knows the Packers
Yes.
win
Love,
at the end of the day.
Loveland feels low would be my first thought.
Yeah, so
And
I basically heard no Loveland. I went around listening to some pods. It's like,
really?
yeah. I heard
people like tight end?
DJ Moore. I heard
God.
Kyle
the thing about-
Manungai.
The thing about Loveland is
I
he
heard
didn't
Luka
actually
Burden.
start to run routes until week 16, and most of the players that weren't still in their fantasy playoffs are not aware of how. And his 2 really good games were 17 and 18. So I mean,
It was a national TV game.
Gonna...
It was a national TV game everyone was watching though, because it was Christmas Hollywood weekend. Like Hollywood holiday.
I'm specifically. I'm listening to pods
without Loveland.
I'm trying to get outside my bubble, so I'm literally trying to figure out what everyone's going to play. So if I just listen to like I didn't actually listen to Ben and Sean because I'm like, they're just going to tell me who I want to play.
We didn't do a show on it.
Oh, that was from last year. I saw it. I saw Stealing Bananas when I didn't. Well, I guess I would have
been helpful
pretty quickly. Yeah.
I don't think last year's would have given you much.
Yeah, I would have turned that one off anyway. But I specifically was like, I'm going to find, if there's some other thoughts out there to help me get outside the bubble. I wanted them. And I was surprised I didn't hear as much Loveland love. It's not that like he wasn't mentioned or anything at all, but he wasn't assumed to be the chalk, and he wasn't like a gold star tight end play for pretty much anybody.
He feels so obvious, because I think Gretsch just said this earlier, but like tight end can kind of function as a soft fade.
I'll get him up a little bit. I'll move him up a little.
I was skeptical at first too because his production was so late in the season. But when you really think about it, and if you go look at the numbers at all, like he's a really strong play. I mean, he's gonna be the tight end probably.
Because who else? Like you guys already touched on it yesterday, but it used to be in this tournament, you always got all the best tight ends. You got Kelsey, you got Andrews, you got Kittle. And now it's just not the only really elite tight end is Kittle. Obviously, there's a hard cap on his ownership because of CMC. It's just like are people going to play? Like, I get that Loveland's a little uncomfortable, but his other teammates, because even if you decide you're not playing Loveland here, like you're still throwing a dart at the board, I feel like, between Swift and Burden and Rome and Moore. Whereas at least with Loveland, you can just go, well, I need a tight end. So I'm just going to take my tight end. I don't even have to think about the rest of these Bears. Whereas the other ones, it's like I have to take Schultz over Collins. I have to take Strange over Etienne. I have to take Henry over
That's why Loveland's ownership's gonna win, because you don't have to fade somebody. You're right.
Yeah. I don't know. I heard a lot of other Bears that weren't Loveland today. And so I think Loveland's the exact type of play that I would over project the ownership on because I want to play.
That's what Loveland. I thought. That's what I thought last night. I was kind of saying I thought you were
one of the big misses I did last year. I think my biggest miss last year was Bucky Irving, who was not chalk, even though he had just been smashing down the stretch, because he's a rookie running back. And Mike Evans. Yeah. But I'm saying,
I guess is DeAndre Swift Mike Evans?
DeAndre Swift would be your Mike Evans here.
Okay.
It's like, dude, first of all, here's the deal. This is a cold.
Derrick Henry just ran for 400 yards against the Packers the last time everyone watched him play.
You can run all over the Packers. This is in the cold. This is the rivalry in the cold.
It's bear down weather.
It's at night. It's at 8:00 at night. It's gonna be freezing. The Bears want to run the ball. The Packers can't stop the run.
You think Painted Nails Caleb is going to throw in the cold?
All right, fine. We'll just jam Kyle Monongai. All right.
That makes me want to take Monongai.
Yeah. You want to pivot. Exactly what I'm thinking. You got to go Monongai for the touchdown.
You guys are selling me. Just calm down a little bit.
I don't want Swift's pansy ass. Give me Monongai.
Yeah, that's why Monongai has some ownership. 4%.
Yeah. By the way, Davis, this is a one-time. I don't think it counts as an apology. It's just a one-time offer. I think Caleb Williams, phenomenal play in this tournament. Phenomenal.
He's a great play.
First off, he's a great play. Second off, I thought you were ready to say he's the best quarterback in this game.
No, I wouldn't say that.
We're so fucking close.
I just got Monongai to 5% based on how excited Ben was.
I have bet the Bears in this game though. I think they should be favored. I think it's weird that they're not.
Frog Clone says that counts as an apology.
Thanks, Frog Clone.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, I think Loveland. I don't want to go. Loveland's one I'm trying not to like. I'm okay being wrong. I don't want to be really wrong in one direction or the other because I think he's a good play.
Yeah,
but I don't want to like have him basically show up as a really good play because no one's playing him, right? And then everyone plays him. But I also don't want to over project the ownership and us not play him because I would like to play him. So I've kind of gotten it back up a little bit from where he was a few minutes ago up to 32%
I love it where it is right now.
Yeah.
He's the one. If someone could just tell me the ownership right now, if I could just know one ownership, it would be Colson Loveland's. I think it would be the one I most want to know.
I think he is going to come in high. I was doing the math in my head on the Caleb Williams is a great play call. I mean, being at 1%, he's probably still a good call, but I guess I understand why people are and the Bears numbers are really low, and it's because assuming they win against the Packers, which is like basically a toss-up by the Lions, they have to host the Eagles, or the only other outcome is the Niners beat the Eagles, and then the Niners go to Seattle, and then they have to take the Rams. They're very likely to play either the Eagles or the Rams in the second round. They do get a home game, but their path is actually tougher than I was realizing. Those are the two teams that would make me think that the Bears are not going to play 3 games. I think you need at least 3 games with
Caleb.
Need
3 with Caleb. Yeah.
Probably need 3, especially because there's so many good AFC quarterbacks without we talked about Nix, but May, Allen.
No, but I mean, I would include Nix in the argument against Caleb. Like you're fading potentially Super Bowl Nix, and if it's not Super Bowl Nix, it might be Super Bowl Lawrence or Super Bowl Allen or Super Bowl May. That's a problem.
It's going to be really hard for an NFC quarterback to get there in 2 games. Really hard.
All right, let's go to the other 2 seed here, the New England Patriots. I brought May's ownership down since the first run of this. I still have him as the highest quarterback.
I feel like right away, I feel like you got to almost swap Trevion and Stevenson.
This is one of those spots where projection, like you asked about early on, you're like, does the potential field shifting like change the way I'm doing this? This is a spot where I'm trying to hold on to the fact that like Henderson is clearly the better play and will be projected better than Stevenson. But all I've heard today is Ramondre.
ETR right now, for whatever it's worth, ETR has Trevion 12.5 points this weekend, Stevenson 10.5. If Henderson gets more carries, or if Stevenson gets more carries than Hendo this upcoming game against the Chargers, what's the projection next week?
Well, the only thing that I would
why would Stevenson get more carries than Henderson?
He started the last 2 games.
Did he? When's the last time he did that? Because Stevenson hasn't had double-digit carries since week 13.
No.
We're just making shit up with Ramondre Stevenson. We just pretend like what he's doing is different than what he's actually doing.
No, Stevenson starts the way David Montgomery used to start. Like he starts, but like Henderson gets more carries every single time. But I will say, sentiment-wise, like Grant, you mentioned you're in like $100 draft with buddies or whatever. I'm in 2 similar things where you're just drafting the players in a snake-like fashion. These guys, we're talking boomers. We're talking boomer opto. And both of them, Ramondre went before Trevion Henderson. And we don't know where Henderson would have fallen to because he's on my team. So I'm not sure how long it would have lasted.
I mean, he had a huge week 18, but like I'm looking at it, he had 7, 8, 8, 6 carries the last 4 games working back, and that includes a game where Trevion left with a concussion. You got to go back before their bye. We got the week 14 bye and rookie post bye bump for Henderson for a game where Stevenson had more than 10 carries. He does catch some passes typically. Henderson, this is his carries working backward: 13, 19, 5 in a game where he was concussed, 14, 11. Now we're before the bye, 18, 19, 14, 14. Obviously, Stevenson missed some of that. He's had double digit every single game for like 8 straight games.
The choir, Ben.
I'm sorry. I'm just the conversation around these 2 has been driving me nuts.
Right,
but this is
here, but I don't know if you're preaching to the Sizzler. I don't know if you're preaching to the Sizzler.
If Hampton is out, it would make sense for the pass just to feed Stevenson over Henderson. I don't know what
matter.
But that is sentiment. Like I think Jason's comments there is like I'm hearing stuff that's like
that's all I was saying. All I was
sentiment
saying is that the
is
sentiment
all for
on
Ramondre.
Stevenson
Pass
is
blocking chops, goal line roll. But I don't know why Hampton being out would affect their running back usage at all personally, but like I'm hearing a lot of things that are all like, listen, I think Ramondre is going to get the work and not Henderson. So when I'm trying to figure out what the field's going to do, I've brought Stevenson up a lot. I mean, I think it should be like 29% Henderson, and Stevenson should be down below 10 or something. Like Henderson to me is like, you want to talk about who could get there in a loss. Henderson can get there in a loss because he has the game-breaking ability. Henderson also has the ability to completely run away, even from May, with the he can hit 80-yard touchdowns. Like, it's nuts. Like,
Totally.
So I think like a guy who just laps his teammates outside of May, Henderson is like clearly. It took me a lot to have Henderson below Diggs because I think that's wrong, but I also think it's played like that after some research.
This is why May has to go up, though, right? Like, who's are people going to play these other guys?
I think
there's only one quarterback. There's a lot of quarterbacks we're going to say should be played.
The other guy, I think I think
Allen's got to come down.
I think Henderson's low in the sense that I want to play him at this ownership. I don't think he's too low in the sense that I think you're wrong, though.
Yeah.
The one guy I think that is actually too low for ownership is Hunter Henry, I think. Because we talked about the pressure on tight end. If people decide they're not playing May in their lineup for whatever reason, because they're going to make the quarterback decision first, I think, more often than not. And if they've already decided on Allen or Nix or Hurts or whoever else, and they don't want to pick between the running backs, is Diggs really that enticing? I could just see someone being like, look, I'm going to solve tight end, and maybe I'll get 2-3 games out of Henry. I could see him creeping up.
I agree with this, what you're saying and what Shorty says here. The combined running backs being 30 and the combined of Diggs and Henry being 30.
God, Henry has just been so like meh. Like that's
again,
hard,
you need a tight end. It's really hard to find a tight end.
You need a tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Schultz love out there, and there's a lot of Goddard love. We'll get to that. That's where I have some tight end. I don't think Henry's honestly that great of a play, even at 13%. He's not. It's not like he projects great. So I'm trying not to
He's only a good play from the perspective that you don't really know which running back to play. You don't really feel good about Diggs, whose routes have been up and down all over the place, and like all the other stuff he's got going on. I mean, I don't think that's actually going to impact his game because it's like 2 weeks old, but really more the route stuff. But maybe his routes will really spike. I don't know. Diggs is maybe a decent click. I don't know, but Henry is a.
I think Goddard's going to catch a good amount of ownership, and Schultz will catch some too. And then you have Loveland, who we just raised, by the way.
But isn't it harder to click Goddard over Brown, Barkley, Smith than it is to click Henry over Diggs, Henderson?
That's what I was going to say. I was taking my time.
Stevenson scoring 2 touchdowns.
That's true. But Henry is a lot like Loveland, where you don't have to fade a chalk piece. You don't have to fade a superstar other than May. But to your point, there's only one quarterback. People,
I would give you an excuse to not play guys that people already don't really want to play.
I would bet money that Henry's not higher owned than Goddard. What do you guys think?
I'd book you for that.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I just think people will look at these Patriots other than May. A lot of people will play May. But if you're not playing May, I think people will look at these Patriots and look for reasons not to play them. But no one's looking for a reason to not play Barkley or Brown. You're like annoyed that you can't play either of them and that you have to play Goddard. But
Goddard
the sentiment on the Patriots outside the ship chasing universe is pretty heavy Ramondre, I would say. Really? Yeah. And then Diggs goes pretty high in these playoff tournaments. I think Diggs is a fairly comfy way to go. I mean, he's not super comfy, but it's not like I can't figure out which wide receiver to play. It's Diggs. Everyone's playing Diggs of the wide receivers.
No, I like the Diggs ownership where it is. My only in a vacuum, my only difference is Henry higher, Ramondre lower. But if you're out there at the Sizzler listening to the Ramondre people, I will.
The Ramondre stuff's real. I think it's real, and also like Ramondre is someone I'm happy to get in playoff best ball contests as well.
Love him.
Don't get Henderson.
Play later.
The red Q tag could matter. Keep an eye on that. I mean, obviously the Hampton stuff we'll get to.
Our bet voids because of the Q tag.
Fun fact.
I feel safe. Maybe Henry comes up a bit. There's a lot of Henry bullishness in the chat. I'll move him up a little bit more, but
fun fact: Hunter Henry, obviously touchdowns matter too, and Goddard scored 11 and Henry scored 7. Hunter Henry had 5 more yards per game, 6 more yards per game than Dallas Goddard this year.
But like to me, I don't know. It gets to a point where like if Henderson is played at the same rate as Henry, that's like feels like generational opportunity on Henderson. Like I don't like to have ownership to the point where I'm like, and now it's time to jam Henderson.
Henderson's the Bucky from last year, dude. We're the only ones who like Henderson. People got so fucking mad at me when I tried to say that Henderson was a decent pick this year a couple weeks ago. Like I think JJ had a poll whether he was a good, neutral, or bad, and then I started talking about it, and I got so much. I don't think there's a thing that I got more opinions back from that I was like, what are you people talking about than that all year? Like, people are just really out on Henderson.
Henderson's going to be 10% owned. See, I'm not going to project like that because that would make him the best play in the entire tournament. And I don't like, that's disrespectful to the field. If you have it at, if I were to put it 10%, that would basically be telling the field they don't know what they're doing. I kind of feel like that at 16. Like, I kind of feel like I need to raise it from 16. This feels bad. This feels wrong.
I do think that Mac Nova has a point here. Like, saying it's crazy that the guy scoring more fantasy points recently goes higher as peak slappy. Like, Stevenson has been scoring touchdowns lately. And I was talking about rush attempts. Sure. He catches some passes. He's been scoring a bunch of touchdowns. And people think that he's going to score touchdowns in the playoffs. So,
but there's a market, right? There is a market right now on DraftKings and on Underdog where people are drafting these players and they're drafting in the high volume. And Henderson goes ahead of Ramondre in every single draft.
Lot.
And he goes ahead of Stephon Diggs in every single draft. And he goes ahead of Hunter Henry on DraftKings where you need a tight end and they're actually fairly scarce in every single draft. So I don't know. At some point, like, people aren't out on Henderson because I watched them draft him all the time. So
that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. All right, let's move to the 3 seeds because we're at 105. We've got through 14 teams.
All right, 3 seeds.
We gotta get a progress meter up.
Progress
meter is a great idea.
All right, let's go to Jacksonville.
This was interesting because they have so many dudes who score points. Like, P-Wash at 5% to me, feels.
I'm really glad you raised Parker Washington because. That I remember I saw your first run and I was like, that's too low because that dude is red hot.
Yeah, people love.
Like, I want P-Wash over Jacoby.
What?
I love P-Wash. I'm with them. I'm with the boomers on this one. I'm all in on P-Wash. I had him as my favorite play on the Jags.
You think P-Wash over Jacoby?
No,
not in terms of ownership. In terms of my favorite click.
Okay.
When P-Wash, Jacoby, and Thomas have all been healthy, P-Wash is leading them in every per row stat.
This is evergreen. Every quarterback that comes up,
sample.
everyone says raise the quarterback. Guys, there's one quarterback.
There's one quarterback.
I'm not saying raise Lawrence. I do think Knicks. I was pushing Knicks and May, and I do think they should both go up on him. The guy that I think should come down is when we get to the Bills. I'm going to tell you that I think Allen's too high. I'm guessing. I don't know where he's at.
High for ownership or high for play?
For ownership. I don't think he's going to come in as high as we think because the last few years he's coming. Well, we'll get there. We're not talking about the Bills.
This is good. This is good information, and I should have mentioned this. But right now in the Underdog draft games, which is big fucking nerds, Parker Washington is going ahead of Jacoby right now in the draft games for a wild card weekend for this game against the Bills.
Best matchup against the Bills too. Outside, he's going to get a lot of the slot work. It's going to be short over the immediate.
That is good information.
I think this ownership is pretty. I think this ownership is mostly good though. Like I like that Lawrence. I think each end's going to be between 40 and 50. I think it's going to be pretty spread between Strange, Myers, Washington, all like in the mid to high single digits.
Yeah, this seems good.
I'll bring Washington up a little.
I like this.
Myers down a little.
Yeah.
I just checked ETR and on ETR for this week, they're projected like completely neck and neck. Myers
the
and
same.
Washington. Yeah, I love the NFL now. It's so fucking wide open, dude. Fuck it, Parker Washington's the best play.
I got one other note here, but shouldn't Cam Little maybe get a smidgen of a bump? And I don't know how owned he is relative to all the other kickers because he's a meme.
You have him pretty high owned.
Like anytime.
Yeah, I have him pretty high owned. One of the notes was the soft bids are too high.
Okay,
you have him pretty high.
So I think. But Davis, to your point, Cam Little will be played, and people are excited to play him. And I think. So this was an interesting thing. I did hear from other people playing the contest saying, hey, if you're playing a quarterback, don't even play a guy in the opposite team, which I agree with generally. And that was an interesting thing of like, okay, yeah, maybe Cam Little's ownership actually comes down a bit because Allen will be played. Like he won't be maybe massive chalk, but hard fade will be more popular on those teams. So, I don't have actually probably have hard fade actually too low for that reason. I'm going to make a note on that real quick.
Shorty keeps saying, like he says, we're too low on ETN and T-Law, probably 15. He keeps saying
to rate T-Law. No chance.
If anything, I think you're too high on T-Law potentially.
I agree.
Every quarterback feels too low to everyone.
So I think Pat.
I think he's too high. I think Lawrence is too high.
I said too high. We used to do the matchups. if you go, so we used to do like Buffalo and Jacksonville at the same time. I do just want to talk about Allen while we have T-Law. What percentage do you have Allen? Because what is their combined percentage is my question. Because people are
probably.
I don't know if people are gonna.
Right?
Allen, I have at 27.
And so T-Law is what, the third highest projected QB or fourth?
Yeah, third.
10% is a high number. I don't think people realize how.
I think Lawrence comes in fifth. I think he comes in below obviously May and Allen, but I think he comes in below Nix and Hurts.
If people are playing Allen,
I don't think he comes in below
27%,
Nix, but he might be even with Nix. I'll get him even with Nix because I wanted to raise Nix anyway.
8-8 seems pretty fair for Lawrence and Nix.
Yeah, 8-8 is how I'll do that. I think Lawrence is a better play than Nix at the same ownership, personally.
I think Lawrence is. You think who's better than Lawrence?
I think Lawrence is a better play than Nix at the same ownership.
I think Lawrence is a very good play too, for sure. He's definitely a strong play. I don't think the field is going to feel comfortable playing. I mean, Jacksonville's a very fun team, very popular. Me and Sean were very bullish on them when we did our playoff show a couple weeks ago. I don't think people are going to be comfortable playing against the Bills, the quarterback against the Bills in round one. Like, and Etienne is a chalk play. You can still play Jacksonville to win through Etienne. You don't have to play Lawrence by any means.
I think the psychology of people betting their whole term, because if you draft your quarterback and they go out in round one, it's over for you.
You feel done. Yeah,
FFPC
right.
Playoff challenge. It's turn out the lights. I think people. Now, I am not that afraid of Buffalo, but I think that the market has given Buffalo a lot of respect. They're road favorites. They're getting drafted very heavily on underdog. I see people all the time saying that they're the best clicks, even on underdog at their current prices. I think people will have a hard time picking a home dog quarterback against the best player in the playoffs and then hitching their whole wagon to that. I just think that's difficult. I'm not saying I think that's bad. I like Lawrence. I'm going to play him higher than his ownership, but I think psychologically it's hard to pin your whole hopes and dreams on the Jaguars.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
The Bills.
Yeah, that's
right. It's a good point. You have to really believe in the Jags, and maybe there aren't that many people who do. So I think lowering it makes a lot of sense. Any thoughts on this?
It's not just a week one win. It's a week one win and then going on the road at the Patriots and probably at the Patriots, right? And then upsetting them on the road and then on the road to the Broncos, probably.
I think Lawrence could be optimal in 2.
Possibly.
Because here's why. He gets the Bills and then he gets the Patriots. I guess it would be 3. He could be, but he's really trying to be optimal in 3 because then the Patriots would win. Yeah, sure. He needs 3. He needs 3. But 3 is like you're feeling great because he probably was in shootouts with the Bills and Patriots and he knocked out the other 2 guys. So then even if he loses to the Broncos and someone gets 4 from next,
all right, well, let's just go do that. Let's do the Bills right now.
You're laughing. I mean, if Stroud gets there, then you feel.
Let's do the Bills because I think these conversations are linked to what you think the outcome.
Speaking of the Bills, how many entries is Liam Murphy putting in this contest? Because if it's higher than 1% of the total number of entries, then Jack's hard fade is.
I have a formula actually. This 27% is built by in parentheses Liam's entries multiplied by an ownership percentage.
Because then you got to raise that Jack's hard fade. Liam is entering more than 1% of the contest.
There's a variable of his number of entries. The variable of how much Allen he's playing is just locked at 100%.
That's
but the variable is just the adjustable one is how many entries.
Is it? I think I agree that Allen should be a little bit lower because I think the Bills' skepticism is now the prevailing opinion. I don't think it started out. Truly other than memes, do you know anyone who basically I'll say this, no one believes that I know that the Bills are a better football team than the Jags. Everyone just thinks that Josh Allen is Superman. But these Bills have lost some bad games.
Pat, my question is, where did you project Josh Allen and where did he come in for the last couple of years? I want to know those.
Good question. Great question. So last year, Josh Allen I had at 50%, and he came at 49%. Fucking nailed it. Let's do Josh Allen the year before. Projected him at 33%. He came at 34%. Fucking nailed it. Let's go to Josh
2 years ago. 2 years ago,
one more. 48% in 2022 projected. Came in at 49%. Fucking nailed it.
That was a setup. We've been planning that all day. Hey Pat, I'll ask you about your Josh Allen ownership. You can dunk it on
1%. I was within 1% 3 years in a row on Allen.
That's amazing. That was great.
All right, this guy's the Allen whisperer, so never mind. Maybe 27%.
Yeah, whatever he fucking says,
whatever
I'm just
you
gonna
say
shut
goes,
up,
brother. Yeah.
I'm trying to. So what else did you have 2 years ago when you had him in the 30s? What seed was he? I want to find the bracket for
Allen. They were
2 or the 3.
They were 26% to make the Super Bowl that year. I'm not sure what seed they were. I didn't have that in the spreadsheet. Last year, they were 29% to make the Super Bowl. This year, they are
so the
17%.
The one 2 years ago where you had him at 33, they were the 2 seed, but KC was the 3 seed. They were gonna go heads up with the Chiefs in the second round, and they did end up only playing 2 games. And that's why people didn't want to play them for a long time.
But he was optimal that year, right? In 2 games?
I think he was optimal in 2 games that year. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was. Yeah.
He was a 2 seed the year prior, or sorry, just last year. And then the year prior. Yeah, he's been a 2 seed 3 years in a row. So this is the first time that he's not playing at home. And some of those games, like 3 years ago, he was playing Miami at home. It was expected to be a shootout. They ended up winning 34-31. I mean, they've basically every year, they were the 3 seed the year prior. They had the 47-17 win over New England, where Allen scored a ton of points in the first round. There's always been this belief that Allen in the first round is going to score like a ton of points in a blowout win. They were a 2 seed against Pittsburgh in the first round 2 years ago. And a 2 seed against Denver last year, won 31-7. A younger Denver team, rookie quarterback. All of those years, you're like, okay, Allen's going to get a big score in the first round. They're likely to advance. All of these things. That's not the case this year. Like there's Shorty won't stop telling us that we're wrong about T-Law. He's said it like 75 times.
Well,
here's your opinion on that logged. But like, there's people that think that T-Law.
Let me make one point on T-Law, because I think we covered some of the reasons that we don't think T-Law is going to be chalk. We do think he's a good play. I don't think he's going to be super chalky. But one of the other reasons is that the Buffalo run defense sucks. Everyone knows it sucks. And ETN's super comfy that way. So you can play Jacksonville to win through ETN and feel really comfortable with that. You have to really believe that Jacksonville's going to make a run. I think to take Trevor Lawrence, at a high rate. So I think 8% is probably close to right. I could be a little low, maybe 11 or something, but I don't think he's like, I would be shocked if he's like 17% or something.
My point is this sentiment that T-Law, this other commenter says T-Law and Mayer, the QBs you have to play. A lot of people think T-Law is a guy you have to play because they like Jacksonville. Every other year with Allen, Buffalo was not just the favorite in the first round. They felt like a lock to win their first game, and you got multiple games, and you're going to get a bunch of points out of Allen. This is a year where a lot of the field doesn't think Buffalo's going to win in the first game because they are on the road. They're in a lower seed. It would surprise me, I think. And because Cook is a comfy click, it would surprise me if Allen came up to 27. But I
guess Scott's making a point that in a roundabout way, saying Allen is way too high and Cook is too high as well. Well, then I guess who are you playing on the Bills? Are you not playing a Bill? Are you fading the Bills?
I think that the right play is to be way overweight Buffalo fade, because if they lose in round 1, Allen is not making the optimal.
It's actually a great point.
Not making in one game. And if they lose in round 1, then the only game the only player you're even worried about is James Cook, because they really don't have anyone else that's that high scoring in a 1-game scenario. And you're talking about a running back who doesn't catch passes against an elite run defense.
Fuck, how are we going to sell Leone on this, Pat? Every year we've been overweight Bills. We got to be overweight fade Bills.
My write-up on this was my favorite thing to do is hard fade
Bills fans are riding to the rescue.
So I am very hard fade Bills. I don't think the market's going to do that, though. I think the market is going to see that as a pick'em game. They're going to see 2 elite pieces. They're going to play both sides. There's no chance, and they're going to be more comfortable fading the Jags. I'm going to fade the shit out of the Bills, but I don't think
it's a great offense to fade in a one and done. It is such a good offense to fade in a one and done. The only thing that matters is the running back who doesn't even catch that many passes. He's a rushing efficiency running back, and they're spread out as hell in the pass game.
It couldn't be better set up for it.
It's
you
so
actually do
perfect
have
for
to
that.
play the kicker. It's not a team kicker. the Prater situation. I currently have it at 0% because I don't think anyone just like wants to mess with, like when you
No
put
one
in
wants
the
to mess
lineup,
with a hurt kicker.
you have to put in the right kicker, and if it ends up being the wrong kicker, or if they replace the kicker with the guy, who's Prater comes back or whatever, like you're screwed. I don't think people are going to like, what do you gain? So I don't think people are going to do it right now, but if that changes, I'll obviously adjust it.
You might not be wrong on Allen. If you're not, everything Jacob just said is very right. If these are the numbers, you have to play the Bills fade. It's the best play in the
Well,
whole
if it
tournament.
plays this obvious, then it's usually not this obvious. So I'll probably raise the fade a little bit and Allen will come down a little bit. That means we have additional quarterback ownership. Do you think some of that goes to May? Did you guys feel May was a little low?
I felt May should come up and then Nix and
I think
then
he could
Allen.
come up a bit.
And maybe T-Law does come up a little if people are willing to fade the Bills, because Bills hard fade will be put with Lawrence at a decent rate.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not like necessarily going to be right. I do think that the past year's Allen ownership stuff, although it's, to be fair, we don't have a Lamar in this field. We don't have a Jane Daniels this year. We do still have a Hurts. Allen was the QB1 in scoring this year in points per game.
I swear to God, if I'm up by 2% on Allen for the first time, I'm gonna blame you guys.
I mean, Allen is still a good play if they advance, but this is more than a quarter of the field playing Allen. I mean, that's a lot for a team that very well could lose in the first round. They are slight favorites.
My gut instinct was that I was like, well, James Cook 61%, that feels insane. But given the context of the conversation of quarterback, now I'm thinking 26% for Allen seems insane. Like, not saying that Pat's ownership is wrong, that just like, man, playing Allen into that chalk, you do have to have a Liam level belief that he can just go nuclear
because
for
the other
4
thing
games.
is, even if they win that game, they have to go on the road to Denver. They got to go play another tough defense.
They'll be on the road the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, Allen could play 3 games and not be the quarterback. And he could play 2 games very easily.
3 games.
No, that is totally plausible.
He hasn't been passing as much this year. His rushing has been great, but if you get cooked TDs,
I get the ceiling on Allen is ridiculous, but Allen is actually, in my opinion, more likely to be outscored by his teammate in a long run than May is by his, than Lawrence is by his, than Nix is by his, than Caleb is by his. I still think people are going to play a lot of Josh Allen because they're just going to see him as highest scoring quarterback. But I agree that it's bad. I think that his path is thin and that there's a ton of risk. But
maybe people will be remembering
what I was writing up yesterday.
Maybe people will be remembering the nuclear, Allen playoff games in the past, but this year, fewest passing yards since his second season in 2019, fewest passing TDs since his second season in 2019. And I mean, 25 passing TDs. He's had no fewer than 28 in all those years. And his good years are like up over 35, 3,600 pass yards. Like he played all 17 games. I guess he didn't play the week 18. He played 1 snap. Basically that was in 16 games, but his passing numbers were quite a bit lower this year. The rushing TDs and everything were there, but if they go on a run and Cook gets the touchdowns, Allen's scoring level was not as like,
it wasn't as dominant. Yeah.
Year.
And May, like I had May and Allen on a dynasty team together, and it was 2-week championship. I played May both weeks, and obviously, and he, I would have lost if I didn't. So, May is more comfy than Allen right now, I think, because just thinking about the first game, right? They're favored by more. So.
And then you got to deal with the fact that he doesn't get the Miami matchup or the Pittsburgh matchup or the clear home victory. They're on the road against a tough D in Jacksonville. Then if they do win, they're on the road against a tough D in Denver. Like even if they beat Jacksonville, they go lose to Denver in a game where they don't play very good offense because Denver's defense is that good. And we were just talking about Denver. If they win, that like Bo Nix isn't going to do anything. They're going to win a low scoring game. Like I like this. Thought experiment, you enter 10 lineups and you can only choose Allen or Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback. How many of the 10 do you play Allen? How many do you play T-Law? Is that considering ownership or like Pat's projected ownership or not? I don't know if that Jewish McCaffrey has to answer that question. I'm not sure.
I would assume
at current ownership, I'm going 9 Lawrence, 1 Allen.
Wow.
And
That-
without considering
that feels
ownership,
aggressive to me.
That feels
without
aggressive.
considering ownership, I would. Well, what we're all going to lose anyway. Without considering ownership, I would go 5 and 5.
Sadly, I think
I was
sadly
gonna go
we can-
5 and I was gonna go
we
5
can't
and
say
5
it on
without
this show
considering
anymore.
ownership. What's
I
that?
don't-
Dave?
No, without ownership, I'd be at
6
least
Allen.
6-4 to Allen,
Yeah.
and I'd consider 7-3.
Well,
I don't think we can do the we're all going to lose bit
Who
anymore.
would you pick?
I
I just would straight up. I'm picking the Jags in the game. So I would rather
I
have
think
Allen
I
than
might
too,
pick
straight up.
Jacksonville. God damn it!
I like Jacksonville to win straight
This
up,
is
too.
a good point, Jacob. This is a good point.
That's why I was saying 5-5 because you have to pick the game
Yeah,
a little bit in your
I'm
head.
good
The Bills are favored by 1.5 points for what it's worth. But I would probably
With ownership
say Jacksonville
factored in,
straight up.
I would be probably 8-2.
But
8-2
but Lawrence
7-3 Lawrence probably.
Lawrence has
7-3
chalk
Lawrence.
on like Lawrence. Well, so I mean, obviously Allen has Cook, but Lawrence also has some good receiving weapons that are going to be played. So I think I'm with Pat that I would be 6-4 without ownership, but I would be 8-2 Lawrence with ownership, 7-3. I don't know.
I think I'm
Something pretty
7-3.
high.
But
Yeah.
All right, so this was one to keep an eye on because maybe I'm still too high on Allen. It's something I'm worth that I'm willing to kind of and worth reconsidering throughout the week. But let's move on for now. And we've now done the 3 seed on the AFC, but not on the NFC. Let's go to the Eagles. So I've got Jalen Hurts at 12. This is where some of the other ownership's coming from. I have him above Lawrence. I have him above Nix. I don't have him
Man,
super
Devonta
high.
feels pretty juicy at 6%. That's my first thought right
You
there.
want to play him there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Brown's
over
juicy at 20.
like yes, and no, I agree. I mean, I'm also just going to be higher on the Eagles than the average bear.
My issue is I just want to play every Eagle. Like I think every
Yeah.
Eagle at this ownership is a good play, except for Goddard. I don't want any part of that. But I would
Oh,
like
you don't like
I
you don't
love
like fake
Barkley.
touchdowns?
I love Barkley even at 40 against the Niners. I
Ooh,
think that
look at this,
Hurts
guys! I nailed
case
it.
is interesting.
Hurts down, up Hurts like 3%.
The only guy like Goddard, I think I both wouldn't want to play at 19, and I don't think he'll be 19. But that's because I think Barkley and Brown and Smith and Hurts are like all really good plays. It just feels so flaccid to take their tight end. But I know
You got to take a tight end from somewhere. I only have a tight end 119. Maybe he comes down a little. So I was looking at 4for4's projections. They have Goddard as the number. Where did it go? Damn it. They have Goddard as the number 2 tight end for their rankings, which factor in expected
Goddard's
number
gonna
of
be
games.
played. He's definitely going to be played because he's the only other tight end that you're like, he's a good tight end than Kittle. But Kittle has CMC, and people aren't as excited about Barkley, obviously, this year. And it's just like, you got to play a tight end. It's not comfortable to play the rookie Colston Loveland. It is for all of us because we're slappies, but
Yeah, because we're slappies.
It's
Right.
not for other people.
It's really more comfortable to play Goddard over like a bunch of superstars than it is to play Hunter Henry over a split running backfield and old Stephon Diggs. I just can't.
These
wrap my head
superstars
around
have
that.
sucked this year.
The
I mean,
super
they
bars
haven't
have sucked, man.
But they get the worst defense in the whole tournament at home, round 1.
Yeah,
True.
but I mean, so does Goddard, so does Hurts.
And if they win,
you know,
but like if they win this week, like the defensive matchups are so golden for them. Like they get the Niners, who have a horrible defense round 1. If they win this week, they're either going to get or I shouldn't say they're either going to. There's a 50% chance ish that they get the Bears, who are probably the second worst defense in the whole tournament, or they have to keep pace with the Rams. Like that's just such a juicy spot that makes me want to play their more interesting players rather than playing their like, I hope he catches a touchdown tight end. I get it. I don't know. That seems high to me, but maybe you're right, and I just think he's a bad play. But
maybe I'm a touch high.
I
I might
think it's
because
a
I
little high.
don't think he's a good play here. Which
I don't either. But I do think the sentiment on
Yeah.
Goddard is significantly
pretty
more
good.
favorable
Sentiment's
than than Hunter Henry, just from like name value. What their ADPs were going into the year, what their ADPs have been for several years. Like some of these, like Shorty's saying this stuff again. Like he says, what Pat pieces non-QB are comfier than AJ and Barkley. that's not the only relevant question. You have a framework that you're thinking through it. There's other frameworks that people work through. And I mean, that would just be my point is I think Goddard, it's like a longer term name value thing that people are going to want to play him some. And you need a tight end.
I agree with that. If anything, I actually think Pat might be a smidgen high on Hurts here. Like that's my gut instinct. I would say more people believe the way Jacob believes about Hurts. Now, these people are wrong. Make no mistake about it, but that is the sentiment. And the Eagles are closer to their 2023 version of themselves than the 2024 version of themselves, where they are not viewed as this death marching, tush push, suffocating. They're honestly, actually, I think a lot of the way that people think of them is kind of the 2024 Chiefs, where it's like, sure, you won these games, but you didn't dominate anyone. You lost. You don't have the big spark that you had.
I think they're
year.
the Titans that we were talking about. That 2021 Titans 1 seed that had Derrick Henry and AJ Brown on it, but also people wanted to fade that team. Like that's what I think. They're a run heavy team, but they weren't even that good. Like
what was the
last
Eagles
year? They were
ownership?
death march.
What was the ownership for these actual Eagles 2 years ago when they also were like kind of limping in? I know
when they were limping in, he was only at 4% Hurts, but they were really limping in.
And way
they were
better
13%
QBs.
to make the Super Bowl that season. They're, I think, 18% this year. And the other thing, 19%. And the other thing that's really important between those 2 years is that they're 68% to win this week.
Right.
And 2 years ago, 2 years ago they were 60%, so not a huge difference. But yeah, I think we did in the interim see them, march and win the Super Bowl. So I think there's like potentially more optimism on them recapturing that form in the playoffs.
Fair.
There's
but
also
maybe I've gone a little high.
The other massive thing is there's no Lamar Jackson. Like the last couple of years, it's been Lamar and Josh Allen have been our chalk QBs, and Josh Allen is not a 2 seed again, right? Like Jalen Hurts, when you tell yourself a story of who's making a run in the NFC, the Eagles are a very easy team to tell yourself that story on. Pat just said they're 68% to win this week. Then they go to Chicago if Chicago wins, or else they host. If the Packers win, they get to host the next round. And then they got to beat the Seahawks. Like Sam Darnold's going to really go and beat the defending champs. I mean, people have already chalked the Eagles up as going back to the Super Bowl as the sharp team that no one's actually playing or whatever.
In a wide open, it's wide open this year, right? Everyone would agree with that. And you can pick your team to go to the Super Bowl. The other angle that's the key here, beyond just double points in the Super Bowl, and one of the things that gets brought up year after year in the tournament is 4 games from your quarterback with one of them counting double. Can you find the team that goes to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And
that's why everyone wanted Allen as the 2 seed. That's why everyone wanted Lamar when he was in that spot. Hurts is that QB this year.
Hurts is that QB, right? Like Hurts is gonna. I mean, if you're a 49ers fan or if you believe in that offense enough to overcome the defense, sure, the 49ers can win that game. But I think most people are picking the Eagles to win that game. And like you're saying, it could set up pretty well for them in round 2. They go into Chicago. That feels a very winnable game. Now they're in the conference championship. You're already live for him to be optimal in 3. And then if the Eagles get to the Super Bowl, you're like, and then Barkley has not been, Barkley was 69% owned last year. After the season he's had, I have him way down from that at 42. I think a little bit of that goes to Hurts, where it's like, hey, if I'm betting on the Eagles to make a run, why don't I bet on Hurts and get my quarterback to get 4 games, including the double point Super Bowl? That's how I got to this.
I think your Hurts ownership is good.
Yeah. I think all your ownership here is good. I think it's a strong, it's a strong group.
All right, let's move
we're still not 50% of the way through.
We're close. We're getting close.
Progress
bar. We're getting close. Yeah. We're close to 50% now. 4 seed in the NFC is the Panthers. So let's.
Well, this will be quick.
This will be quick. We're gonna make up some time. I put it in the private chat. I gotta go with like 10 minutes. I didn't realize it's gonna take 3 hours. I'm sorry, but We're all looking
Hurts
for the
is
one
great at that ownership, by the way. I love people are saying he's way
Yeah.
too high, he's way too low. I do think
This,
Hurts probably is about right.
I think your Panthers ownership is right on the money here, Pat. Good job.
All right. McMillan will get played some, but he's going
Is
to be
anybody
going to
play Rico Dowdle? Rico Dowdle would be kind of a
Yeah, like a person or two. A couple
I-
people.
Like,
I
it's just,
think a little.
it's
Yeah, a
it's,
little.
it's
A little.
spot on here, and I think you could argue, like, dude, they're 10.5-point dogs. They're not. If they win, it's going to be so annoying. Like, I think
They're not gonna win.
Let's
Yeah,
let's
the
go
Rams,
to. They're not going to
very
win, so let's talk
interesting.
about the team that's going to beat them. So I have Stafford at 8. So he's in that mix now. Stafford, Lawrence, Nix, all at 8. Kind of the
feels high.
feels high for Stafford.
You know what?
There's been a lot of Stafford love
No,
in the chat as we've gone
I'm
tonight.
going to correct
I've heard
myself.
some Stafford love as well.
I think it's too high, but people keep telling me they're like, man, I think Stafford's the play this year, and I don't agree with
Yep.
them.
Yep.
But I do keep hearing it. I think it's kind of crazy because I think that again, like his Super Bowl path with such a superstar teammate against all of these AFC quarterbacks who have way inferior teammates to Puka without any rushing touchdown upside. Like I think it's thin, and I don't like Stafford at that ownership. But yeah,
I hadn't seen these numbers yet, but I think Stafford's
I'm with
too
you.
high and not. I'm not correcting myself the way Jacob is. I think this is wrong for the projected ownership. I think he's going to come in below this. I think Puka's going to come in above this. I don't think enough people are going to talk themselves into Stafford being the pick over Puka in a long run. If you tell yourself,
Dude,
the
I
Rams
heard
are
a
going-
bunch of Adams love today. It definitely.
So Adams over Puka, I actually can understand because they're going to say that Adams scores all the TDs.
but
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you're still playing a receiver.
But if you're coming
that
off
gets me back
Puka-
into my Barner point again, where it's like I don't want to bet against Puka. Between the 20s, Puka fucking dominates these fools. Like the biggest advantage Adams and Kyron have is at the goal line. So I'm just gonna play Puka. I think is
8%
where I feel about the Rams.
for some of the people in the chat for reference, and because I don't need to tell you guys this, but 8% is a high number for a quarterback. It's a pretty strong number. There's 14 teams. Like at the end of this, we usually go by position. And again, if we sort it by position right now, I think you have T-Law at 8 now, but you had Bo Nix lower than 8%. That's crazy to me that you had Stafford at 8 and Nix at 6, for example.
I hope that's
Stafford
right.
has
I hope
Puka.
that's right.
That's not the way the field's going to
Okay.
play it.
well, I mean,
I don't think.
I wouldn't play it like that either. But I've just heard Stafford be touted like so much. Like
No,
it seems like people think he's a great
I'm
play.
with you both simultaneously. Like I think it's insane that
Who's
like, when I did
touting
my
him?
first run.
Is it people that are doing like 2 of their own entries and are not that serious about the tournament, or is it people that are playing the tournament really heavily? And I'm not
I don't
saying
know. I mean,
call
I'm not
names,
sure
but
which.
I'm not sure.
that is a fair question. Because sometimes people are like, "Oh, I got a great idea about this," and I'm like, "You're not even playing the tournament. Like,
Right.
you're
Yeah, that's a
making
good
one
point,
team."
Ben.
Like,
That's a good point, Bev. Stafford might have disproportionate ownership in the phone shitter contingent.
Yeah, he might be
exactly, and that's
phone shitter only.
2%. That's not 8%. The 8. I want to know like
Fair.
the people that are actually like for real. play in
Stafford
the
feels
tournament.
incredibly inevitable. I did Stafford on 1 and Puka
How
on
does
9.
Stafford feel inevitable? You can only play one player from a team. Puka feels inevitable. Puka Nakua. Do you know about a player named Puka Nakua?
I got
He's the inevitable.
one. I do have. I do have one
who's
question
jamming
for
Matthew
you guys.
Stafford? Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky is
Yeah.
jamming
Call
Matthew
him
Stafford.
inevitable. That's
I got a question for you guys that might change this conversation a little bit, and I'm sure you guys will know this. But with Devontae Adams active and healthy, does anyone want to state the number of touchdowns that Puka Nakua scored in games that Adams played?
Probably like 4. Probably like 4.
How many
5.
games? 5. How many games total?
Would have been 14 games.
14.
No, because Puka missed one of those himself, and he
Puka-
left early
so-
in another one. So really 12.
Left early.
I'm getting Lawrence up to 10% now.
He left in the second quarter. That's a classic Davis Maddock, technically true but highly misleading statement.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know. Maybe
guess
I'm
what?
wrong
on
It's a type of statement that is going to sway people playing this tournament. So
Yeah,
you know.
Davis
I
is
just-
much more in touch with the boomers than I am. I'll concede that.
That's
Pat,
so. What I'm telling you is that for the boomer mind, the safe way to play the Rams is Matt Stafford.
Yeah. So Pat, I just said very definitively I thought 8 was wrong, and now I'm like, I mean, people forget he's the MVP. He gets
Yeah.
there every
he's
game.
not the
Stafford,
MVP,
4
obviously.
TDs
Drake May.
to
No.
4 different tight ends in the Super Bowl
Man
for
to
double
man.
points.
Agreed.
Like people are gonna tell themselves that story, the tight end thing. Maybe.
I'll do
I mean,
7.
I'll say-
I'll do 7.
Trico said
say
it.
this,
People
of
could
the
lean into the mobile
three-
tight end thing.
of the really, really high owned players in this tournament, Puka's the one that I think I'll actually play higher than what I project his ownership to be.
Well, I think Adams is going to get played, and I just want to play Puka. Give me Puka.
Yeah.
But I do think Adams gets played. I don't think Adams is like sub 10.
No, that's true.
So I think Puka is actually pretty good chalk if he's at 70. I think he will be though. I mean Davis just leaned into the boomer TD narrative. He just gave us the stat of how many touchdowns Puka scored in Adams.
Davis knows. Davis.
You think Kyron's a little high? Like, does Kyron come in even lower than this?
No, I think the boomers like running
Corum's healthy. He came back in the week 18 game with the ankle. I could see Kyron being a little high.
I think the FFPC boomers love Kyron Williams.
Do the tight ends get played at all?
It's just too messy because
maybe a oneer, but I doubt it. They're not even getting drafted in like playoff basketball stuff. They're like in the 50s, like they're barely getting picked.
Yeah, because you can't even pick which one, and then
I had Parkinson at 1, and then I just took it out.
Like nothing can possibly feel worse than like I've decided to fade Puka. I've also
Kyron at 8 and Corum at 0 is crazy.
And I might not even pick the right tight end. Like that feels awful.
Yeah, Corum should not be played. Like Corum is a horrendously bad play in this. But it does make me, that comment makes me wonder if like Corum would be.
This is right here. If you're playing a tight ends, you're taking Stafford instead of.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You
don't need the running back this year, at all in the lineup. So I don't think. I think Kyron might even be a little. I'm gonna get Kyron to 6 and Puka to 71. Okay.
Yeah,
because I don't think if you're playing Rams to win and it's not Puka, right? If you're playing Rams to lose and it's not Puka, you play Adams. If you're playing Rams to win and it's not Puka, you play Stafford, I think. So,
yeah.
I think, Kyron might even be 5.
All right.
What other team we got here?
All right. We are going to go to...
Niners.
No, I think we need to go to the Steelers and the Texans.
Okay.
Right? Go back over the AFC.
I've got to run. I'm sorry. I did not realize I'd get through 50% of this in an hour 40, but I also am the reason for that because I talked about Bo Nix for a year. So I love you guys. I will be tuning in for the rest of this. I'll be tuning in for the rest of the show and hope to see you guys at the top of the leaderboard. See you guys later.
Pat, if possible, can you make a chart for tomorrow? No.
Great.
Pat has too many gauntlets left to draft.
I'm not going to be making a chart.
Deep threat.
But that's a good reminder that you can get this ownership over at Legendary Upside or in the Ship Chasing as a Ship Chasing member. If you sign up for the premium YouTube membership, which you should do.
Yeah. If you do that, you can make your own
Discord
chart.
Yeah, you can make your own chart.
Yeah.
You can make your own chart. With the percentages that will be available to you on the spreadsheet that I share with you. All right. So Pittsburgh, any thoughts here? I mean, I did hear people talking about Gainwell a little bit. I got him up to 8%. Gainwell is kind of a guy you play in a loss.
I was going to say he's so good in a loss. And
yeah, he's fun.
I guess it makes sense for Boswell to be the chalk.
That's a lot for
in a
Boswell.
loss. Well, because I was thinking about this. We started talking about this on our ADP chasing the other day, and it's like you actually, because my gut instinct was Texans D or Fairbairn, and the chat was like, "Oh, dude, come on, Fairbairn! Like it's all Fairbairn, right?" And but the Texans. Like we could see the Texans. I mean, Corinne and I filled out our bracket the other day, and it's like, pretty freaking easy for them to get to the AFC Conference Championship. In which case, you're really going to have wanted to have Nico, or because you have to use a tight end,
or Schultz.
Which this is a long way to get there too. I actually completely see it with Pitt D and Boswell and fade.
But why not just a hard fade? Because it's an over under that's under 40. Why would Boswell be?
People like Boswell, man.
People like Boswell. Yeah, I fucking love
people like Boswell.
I missed bad on Boswell last year. Like Boswell, I think might have been my biggest miss.
But he was the kick. We talked about this last night. He was the overall number one kicker in the regular season last year. Was not this year.
Was not this year.
Fairbairn
was.
Right.
Fairbairn
so,
was who I have ownership on because
yeah.
I think there's going to be stuff where people go like Gainwell Texans D and are playing for the Texans to win.
A running back versus the D. You're soft fading your running back and hard.
I think people will do that. I think there will be teams that soft fade
and the
Texans.
The Panthers.
I'm playing this both ways. I'm playing this both ways.
I'm playing this both ways.
I got the DST.
I think the Texans D is to a level. I'm just bringing the Texans here. I think the Texans D people are excited about. Now they're also excited about Fairbairn. I have the D a little higher.
Yeah, Fairbairn. Immediate gut call here is Fairbairn looks low to me.
Where does it come from?
So here, so it comes from
that's
a couple
high
places.
number.
First,
pretty high.
First thing is, you as you guys were just mentioning with Boswell, you have to account for when people know these guys' names. Fairbairn being a and he had a crazy good fantasy season, relatively speaking.
Yes, he did.
Not kicking at Heinz Field, kicking indoors in NRG Stadium.
Also, I mean, to the people who want to do this, Texans D was the right play last year with McConkey on the other side. So it's not like it couldn't work. It could work. It did work. It literally worked last year.
I think just for the record, Marks to me just seems awful. It's like he sucks, dude. He's
really bad at football. I've been kind of picking on Shorty, and he goes, best play on the slate, 5% winning marks. I was like, all right, great. We just have different opinions on everything. That's fine. We can
I like getting Shorty's opinions because they're not like ours, and I'm trying to figure out where people are going to do.
No, people are going to want to play Marks. People like to project Marks. Every week he scores less than his projection, but we just keep projecting him the same amount and pretending that he's something other than what he is, which is a non-prospect as a rusher that they're using as a rusher.
Right.
He was a receiving prospect, caught 22 passes all year. They don't actually throw to their back. CJ Stroud, and the way that he plays quarterback, he doesn't check down a ton. They use a Goombawala in some of the obvious pass downs. Marks doesn't actually catch passes, which is his one skill set. Has no profile as a missed tackle force guy, as a college player, or this year as a rookie. Breakaway run rate as a prospect player, 5 years, or as a rookie. Didn't get volume ever as 5 years as a runner. The teams that had him in college, they threw to him a ton. They didn't run him, but the Texans did for some reason and got terrible results. He's got like a 3.5 yards per carry. Terrible yards after contact every year in college. None of it is translating to the pros. They got Jawar Jordan out there for like a little bit, and he was better than him immediately, and they've been using him a little bit since Marks came back. I think they're going to use Marks more than Jordan. This is a team that clearly did not expect Joe Mixon to not play all year, and this was the best they could do because they also had Nick Chubb, and they didn't have a lot of flexibility with the different running backs. They've been playing Marks. This guy's a non-prospect. He called him the Akers play. Akers was a prospect, dude.
No, there is an Akers play, and it's not Woody Marks. The Akers play references one of my favorite plays a few years ago was when the Rams were playing, I think, the Seahawks, and everyone was fading the Rams. The Rams were getting overly faded relative to their odds of winning the game because the offense was kind of gross. And I guess did they not have Kupp? I don't remember, but Akers ended up being a pretty strong play. I think it was the pre-Kupp.
You really liked the Akers,
I think
right?
Kupp
and you really liked the path. If they won, their second round matchup was likely to be another good run matchup, and you were like, yeah, it's gonna be a really good 2-game slate of run matchups, and it's exactly the way it played out. It was just a super good call on the way the bracket would play out and where the production would come from in the Rams offense.
But the key
this team doesn't even run.
At that time, Akers was kind of potentially the engine of the offense to their victories. And I just don't, I have such a hard time seeing Woody Marks.
Go look at Woody Marks' game log. He hasn't scored more than 16 PPR points since that one game against the Texans when the Texans were quitting on their coach and got completely shut out. And both of the Titans, both of his touchdowns were in the fourth quarter of that game. He had one 20-point game. Since then, has not scored more than, I think, 16 PPR points and has more games in single digits than even in the 15 to 16 range. Ton of really bad games. And they are winning every game, by the way. They're in plus script every week, and he still can't score 10 PPR points.
If you think, by the way, that Houston D or Fairbairn is a jam, you're and you're right. Like that could be a move. I think they split. I think they cannibalize each other because some people are just going to love Fairbairn and some people are going to love Houston D. They're both like pretty strong ways to get a lot of points at that position. Of course, I have Houston at 34% total fade. That's really high for a team that has 18% chance to get to the Super Bowl. That is higher than Buffalo. That's higher than Jacksonville by 4%. That's just behind the Eagles and the Patriots. I mean, Jacksonville I have getting faded some because, we talked about with Buffalo and everything, but Houston I have higher than all of those teams. I have them higher than Chicago, who only has a 10% chance to make the Super Bowl. I have them almost equal with the Packers, who only have a 9% chance to make the Super Bowl. I think people fade the Texans too much. So, I mean, that would actually be an argument for Woody Marks, right? But I think Nico isn't too low in the ownership projection, as Shorty Vegas pick just said, because one, I think people do play Schultz. You need to get some tight end. It's going to be somewhat spread out. And two, people fade the Texans with the defense and Fairbairn.
If Woody Marks is a good play in this tournament and that whole rant was for nothing, I'm gonna be so mad. Because he can, running backs can score points. It does, it can happen.
I mean, he is in the Joe Mixon camp where Shorty's saying his expected fantasy points regression. The issue is that there has to be no model that I know of adjusts for this, but there has to be some kind of when you fail to convert from the 2-yard line, then you fail.
You don't get another expected.
Then you fail to convert again. You get all the expected fantasy points there.
The other thing is it's not always regression when you're worse than.
This is too much Woody talk.
Yeah,
respectfully.
He's a non-prospect that's been worse than expected, and then you're like, well, he's got to be average. No, he doesn't have to be average. His profile suggests that he's not an average NFL running back. In fact, he's meaningfully below average. We should have expected below average efficiency from that player. It's not.
Yes.
What's regression to what mean? That's what I want to ask.
Listen, if you want Woody Marks, then draft some gauntlet teams before it closes because you can get him.
This is why I'm so passionate. I promise I'm dreading. I think I'm gonna have to have a conversation with Leone about Marks at some point. He's gonna want to play him. We're gonna want to.
He might tout him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like
on.
if you're
next?
specifically betting on the Texans to make the Super Bowl and you've already built a team that reflects that with Nico Collins, right? And you're going to add Stroud and Schultz and Higgins and whatever in the gauntlet, then I think Woody Marks is pretty great because that team's going to be in the Super Bowl. But in this tournament, I don't think he's a great play. He's fine. I think he's probably fine at 5%.
He's probably fine. Yeah.
He's
not the worst play in the world, but I just He should be a good play, and he's not because he doesn't actually score any points. Anyway, the Steelers are. I think Boswell's high here, but otherwise, seems fine. I think it's more hard fade Pittsburgh, and Boswell's a little high. That's what I think. Okay. And I think what you have the Texans at a really high fade number 2, and I was listening to that, way higher than their actual percentage, but they aren't a fun offense, right? And that does
they aren't.
They're gonna come in lower than their odds to get to the Super Bowl simply because people don't like their offense. It's just the way that it is. It's not just how
this is part of how it works for sure.
That's certainly part of how it works. It's tough because Houston and Pittsburgh are both not fun offenses. Pittsburgh is an even less fun offense, and so you may get the double soft fade and that kind of thing in this game.
I don't know what Dicker is at, but up at 5%.
Go ahead.
The Dicker, the kicker,
at 5%.
Yeah.
You guys want to do the Chargers?
Yeah, because we already did the Bills, so we can close out the AFC with the Chargers.
Let's do it.
So let's do that.
So Hampton, I think you have to throw a wrinkle in because there's a real chance that he does not play this weekend. And if he doesn't play, I would guess the fade goes up. I would also guess the Ladd McConkey and see, right. I would think, don't you think one of Ladd or Gadsden, particularly Gadsden? Yep. Gadsden to me feels like just my gut. This, I guess, I don't know if you count me as a boomer or a slap, but my first instinct was Gadsden could just rack up 8 for 65 in a shit canning. by the Chargers.
Ladd's coming up from this number. Gadsden's coming up from this number. I also think Quentin Johnston's catching at least like 2%.
All right. This is one I got to this and I was like, I can't even.
There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
I don't even know what to do because either Hampton's way too low or Hampton's way too high. But yeah,
I think Hampton's got to come down with the injury to like 28. Johnston up to like 2. McConkey's got to go up, or maybe even lower. Yeah, 25 if you can go that far. But I think Johnston's. Yeah, Keenan maybe is too high at 4. Maybe he's 3. Like he's not.
I don't think so. I think Keenan's actually semi-comfy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that looks better. What is the chat saying here? Ladd 4%.
But I don't know which direction.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. What does that mean? QJ 0. We got that. Oh yeah, he's saying the other direction. Ladd 4, McMillan 10, DK 10. I mean, yeah. There's like Mr. Brad here says I like QJ most of the flex guys. What if QJ finishes the season like he started? I mean, I think Quentin Johnston has the highest ceiling. Gadsden is the TD equity. Ladd has last year's game in people's mind. Keelan feels like dust. I think people think Keenan's dust, but
for sure. Yeah.
Keenan 0-1.
Yeah. Keenan like nothing.
I'm taking the over on 0-1 on Keenan, guys.
Okay.
Got to remember who we're dealing with.
He's been hearing.
I'm taking the over on 0-1.
Touted on some podcasts.
I've heard Keenan touted. I've heard.
Dude, I'm hearing it.
It was risky to play him
streets.
to get his incentives. They had incentives in week 18 that they said they should have paid him the money, rather than risking his health because he's
risking his health because he's their best receiver.
Yeah, I think he'll get played.
He is their TD guy. I mean, he's their Devontae Adams in a minor way.
Yeah, not like played a ton, but I don't think that people are just going to X out Keenan.
Keenan needs 12 targets to get 60 yards. I love that.
We are not the people that drafted Keenan, right? How much Keenan do you have in best ball? I don't have very much. I don't trust my my desire to put Keenan at 1 is incorrect for projecting what the field will be.
This is an incredibly tough one. I mean, even just looking at the chats, they have a lot of different opinions, a lot of whatever. It seems like everyone likes somebody at a certain number. Like there, if you're inclined to like, Quentin Johnston, you're going to like him at 2%. Gadsden, you're going to like him at 4%. Ladd, you're going to like him. You've bumped Ladd all the way to 8 now. He was at 4, but I think I've seen all the different comments that have been like, oh, that guy's too low. That guy's too low. That guy's too low, which tells you that it is going to be spread. Like people have their preference in this spot. And you're saying people like Keenan
Boomers
as well.
Do not sort by points per game. They sort by targets. And
do they?
Yeah, they sort by target. Targets is
I feel like that is not what Boomers do.
No, it's targets. Targets. They love targets. Look at Crack Rock, the PPR. That's all. Crack Rock loves targets.
It's true.
This is our.
I would need 5,000. JMC. I would need 5,000 lineups before I got to a Herbert.
5,000.
I just think they're so dead in this game, and it's not even honestly, it's not even Justin Herbert's fault. It's just like they have no offensive line. They have guys.
Targets on the FFPC. Okay, fair. There's other sites they sort on. All right.
They just have dudes coming off the freaking street.
I do like 1% Herbert.
There you go.
There you go. There's your 1%.
Yeah.
What would Chad
do you guys like? Wait,
I think Hampton honestly might be the Akers play.
Ooh, I like it.
Patriots run defense sucks.
The thing is he gets the PPR scam.
I like it.
If the Chargers win multiple games,
but Akers was like 10%. What made the Akers play is he was like 10%.
Yeah, well, everyone's yelling at me at 25% is too high, and they might be right. In part because he didn't practice.
Also, Akers and the Rams won. You're picking Hampton. You're picking the Chargers to upset the Patriots.
The Chargers are live to win this game. Like I'm obviously our portfolio won't reflect the Chargers winning this game, a ton. But like in certain lineups, I want to consider that the Chargers beat the Patriots for sure. Yeah,
I think Quentin Johnston's a really good play at 2%.
I'll make him 3 then.
I mean, he's the type of guy that if you're playing him in a loss, you're like, well, he's the one that caught the long TD. So I like you keep upping Ladd. Who wants to play Ladd McConkey this year? He's been dog shit. Like, he's been bad. For a second, I was thinking I was on stealing minutes. Ladd McConkey.
I mean, you're probably right. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where to put this Hampton ownership. That's gonna go somewhere. I guess somewhere it'll go to the kicker. It'll go to the fade.
It might go to fade. It might go to QJ. Just like, I don't know. I would have him closer to Ladd. When you bumped QJ, you bumped Ladd by even more. And I'm like, I'm trying to get those guys closer, and you're like, the gap is widening. But that's the only reason I brought up Ladd. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, I'm gonna leave it like this for now. QJ over Ladd, higher ceiling. Gretch is right about QJ. Yeah, all right. I'll bring Ladd down and bring QJ
Ladd has
up.
not gotten more than 50 receiving yards since week 10.
That's so gnarly.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
13, 39, 12, 20,
there's how we got
31.
more Dicker. There's how we got more Dicker.
Oh God, this is so great. Oh, this game log, dude. And Quentin Johnson just caught a long TD like the other week, right? I mean, most of it was earlier in the year, but didn't he have something? Yeah.
Stick with the kicker, man. It's happening.
Johnson has 104 and 98 in his last 2 games. He's got more points, more yards in his last 2 games than McConkey's got in 2 months.
Yeah. Does
right.
FFPC doesn't have easily checkable game logs, right? Like if this was on DraftKings and you could just click on the name and get the game log, but you can't do that. So I'm on board with the. I mean, 5% Keenan is still a bit high, but okay. FFPC does easily, and it does have targets. According to MacNova, the FFPC game log does have targets.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Who else do we have in the NFC?
Over on the NFC side,
We did Carolina. We haven't done Green Bay yet.
Green Bay, I think.
Green Bay's a crazy
and San
one,
Francisco.
too.
We still need to do let's do San Francisco first.
Yeah.
That should be pretty quick.
Man, it just feels like Corinne, I think you're right. The only thing is with tight end being just so
Right.
meh, do we see a little bit of extra portioning from CMC to Kittle than we would in a normal year for them?
It's a good question. I was thinking no, and then as soon as you pulled that up, I was like, I want to play George Kittle at that number. They're 4.5-point dogs. And even if McCaffrey outscores Kittle, he can be the tight end for all the reasons we talked about. McCaffrey has a 20-point game, Kittle 15, they lose. Kittle's probably the tight end. McCaffrey's probably not the running back at that number. Right?
So in a loss, I think people are just going to be very, very happy with McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Just be happy to have McCaffrey. It's like
catch a ton of balls.
They're in a lot like Kenny Gainwell in a loss, but it's McCaffrey. And I think you can figure out tight end. I think most lineups are not going to play 2 tight ends. Most lineups are going to play 1 tight end. Right. So you're going to go, okay, I can go get Colson Loveland, Dalton Schultz, Brenton Strange, Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry. Right? One of those tight ends is probably going to feel better than not playing McCaffrey and playing George Kittle. I think to most people, you know,
you're right. Yeah. So
that's why I think McCaffrey comes in very, very high. Because of Kittle is the hawk play, actually, Shorty Vegas pick. That's a good call. That's right. Would you agree, Ben?
Yeah, no, I think he's a great play. I think he's a good play.
He's like the Hawkinson Jefferson play.
Right, because in a loss, McCaffrey could have a bad game. He could have some type of like tweaked injury or something. We know he has some kind of like soft tissue issues occasionally. They could just get like really like fixated defensively, could really fixate on McCaffrey, whatever. There's a lot of ways that like if San Fran's offense doesn't go well, it's because they're not able to get McCaffrey going. And then that also benefits Kittle. And then that's what happened with the Vikings last year. Jefferson was having a great year, but the Rams just took Jefferson away basically. And as a result, the only thing they could get going was a little bit of Hawkinson over here, and he ends up catching a TD. They both had like 5 catches, but Hawkinson got the TD, and he ends up being the obvious. mean, Kittle's a really nice pivot if McCaffrey has a bad game. It's possible McCaffrey could have a bad game.
By the way, Jefferson that year was a smash, had a smash season, much like McCaffrey just did for fantasy. I had him projected 69%, came in 78%. So I don't know. I mean, McCaffrey and Jefferson obviously aren't exactly the same situation, but this type of play, like that's this comfy, tends to just get played. Kittle's probably a better pivot than Hawk, who I had projected at 5 and came in at 5. People just faded that game. I don't think people there's been some stuff of like, oh, you just fade this game. Okay, you fade this game. When you come back around and you're about to put Ted McMillan in, I think you play CMC or Kittle. So I think a lot of people are going to start with the idea of the fade in this game, and they're not going to do it because it's going to be a much more uncomfortable lineup when you're literally just not playing CMC, who obviously can like crush in a loss like that. He absolutely can do that.
This is our audience that tends to think pivot. Drico says Kittle Omega Smash at 14%. We had no Kittle, no money. Kittle is a huge smash here. Obviously, Shorty was saying it's the Ferguson and Hawk play. There's a lot of people looking at this saying you have to play Kittle at this number. Does that mean that he comes in higher from that perspective? I mean, you just were explaining.
I mean, this is one I feel pretty good about, to be honest. It's not that I don't think Kittle's a good play. I think he's a really good play. I think CMC is going to be like, if you look at playoff projections and stuff, and you look at where, CMC is going at like the 102 in the gauntlet.
I'll tell you where some Kittle comes from. And we've been wanting to know which QBs to bring down. Purdy 4% when they're 4.5 point dogs. No one thinks the Niners are making that long of a run. And even if they do, they want to play McCaffrey. How does he get 4%? Purdy's 2%. Purdy. No one thinks the Niners are making a run. They're big dogs.
I wonder if you see, I was going to say, I wonder if you see fade or kicker come up a little bit.
That might be possible. Maybe 2% from Purdy goes there. I don't think Purdy's even a 2% QB, honestly. He scored a lot down the stretch. He was a fantasy playoff hero, but people want to play McCaffrey or they want to play Kittle. And it's so and then also they want to play a QB who's making a run. And this is not a team that looks like they're going to make a long run. They have a really low percent chance of winning the NFC based on the odds. Who's plugging in
Kittle?
Purdy?
Kittle 24%. I would take, which is the comment we had here. I would take like hard under. I just don't think people get there.
No,
that's probably
CMC
fair.
is never under 70.
Yeah.
I think Purdy might be a 1%, but 2%.
I think I don't know. I think there's enough people. I mean, he's scored really well, and it's possible. So,
is it possible?
Purdy in the Super Bowl is enticing.
Wouldn't you just play McCaffrey if you were taking the? They're 4.5 point favorites. They're one of the bigger underdogs this weekend. They're the second biggest underdog. So it's possible they make a run, but if you're like, well, it's not likely they make a run, and even if they do, I just want McCaffrey or it gives me more outs. Like people love their outs, The Niners have the same odds to win the Super Bowl as the Chargers. The only teams behind them are
Purdy
the Steelers and Panthers.
2 years ago, I had him at 2% because he wasn't. I didn't think he was a very good play. He came in at 5. So that was with obviously CMC and Kittle and
Debo.
Ayuk and Debo.
And Ayuk. It was more spread. And
it was more spread, but I mean, I think that's let me see where McCaffrey came in that year.
What was
McCaffrey was at 79% that year.
2020. That was the 2023 season?
Yeah.
2023, 2024 NFL playoffs on Wikipedia. What was their
Kittle was
seed?
barely played that season. He was at 3%.
They were the number 1 seed, dude. They had a bye. They went to the Super Bowl. They were likely to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that's a way different thing than being 4.5 point underdogs on the road against the defending champs.
I mean, does that make
it
people
obviously
more or
is. I'm
less
just saying,
likely to play CMC though? Like, I feel like as a dog, you almost want CMC more because you're like, all right, well, I just get 27 PPR scam points and then they're done.
I'll get Purdy to 1. I'll get Purdy 1 and Kittle to 18.
Yeah, I think that Gretsch is accurate there.
I think this is a good point from our guy Fuller here, but I would say that in any other contest, but in this contest, when you can only take one Niner and it's you want McCaffrey, and if you don't have McCaffrey, you really want Kittle. Like we're having a hard time. Everyone in the chat wants us to get higher on Kittle, but we can't because of McCaffrey. Who the hell's playing Purdy? You know what I mean? Like it's just because you can only play one Niner. I do think because he won people their championships that in other contests, like he gets bumped for sure. But in this contest, there's so much constraint on the Niners. That's also why I think you're right about the fade. Some of the chat was saying you should bump fade. I don't think people are going to fade the Niners, even when they play.
People are going to fade the Niners, man.
They're going to play McCaffrey or they're going to fill tight end with Kittle. That's the pivot. You don't fade both McCaffrey and Kittle to full fade the Niners. Why would you do it? I don't think.
Well, because you would if McCaffrey and Kittle were going to be close, and they were kind of you're fading two chalk pieces, but they're not going to be close.
Right. People think Kittle's this really great leverage play that you don't have to. Like I even think Jennings at 2% is. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to take all the riffraff out here. You got 4% on the kicker. I mean, I think McCaffrey, Kittle, they're not going to come in at 100%, but they're going to be in a lot of freaking lineups. You've got
a lot of lineups. And this is a contest where you kind of have you have license to play to not fade the 49ers because you can just play Kittle. And maybe I'm a little low here, but again, I would take the under on like 25% on Kittle because people are just going to. I want to play McCaffrey. I would play McCaffrey.
It's so hard to come off McCaffrey. I
don't think he's a bad play at 75.
It is so hard to come off McCaffrey.
He's definitely not.
And even if you come off McCaffrey, like the only reason you're doing it is because like the tight end position is so hard and then Kittle becomes if you're off McCaffrey, Kittle becomes the lock tight end play. Does he not? Like it's so hard to come off McCaffrey and then also come off Kittle to anything else. Well, I mean, maybe that's like
Loveland. Yeah, Jewish McCaffrey saying Loveland is much easier with the opportunity cost, which I agree with. Which is why you're going to see Loveland a lot higher. But it's if you are fading the Bears, that's a spot where you can play.
Our comment is coming from Jewish McCaffrey. It's the opportunity cost. I gotta play McCaffrey. Like his picture is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, very fair.
I just gotta play that guy. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah. All right. So final team, Packers. Someone asked, Artillery Frost asked if these, quarterback and kicker and defense some to 100%. Yes. Well, they did. I've been tinkering. Yeah, so they will later tonight.
You usually pull up by position really quick at the end, so we can kind of see the relative like chalk and stuff.
I'll try to find homes for things that have gotten a little out of whack before we do that. But yeah, all right. This is a big one, big one for projections driven stuff versus feel, because the feel on the Packers feels like Watson. People like Watson.
Yep.
I Watson.
Agree.
Watson's fun. He's looked awesome. He's kind of getting better, like week by week. It feels like you think he's in a bad matchup. He goes nuts, right? We benched him in a league on the Saturday game. He goes nuts. Like Watson's been awesome and really defied expectations coming back from this injury. He's a deep threat. He draws targets. He's fun in a loss because he can get there. And the Packers are actually a very fun team when you push them, and they actually have to pass because they don't really want to pass. But if they get pushed, he goes nuts in a loss. You move on. It's like a very easy play to see yourself banking a bunch of points, which is obviously what you want to do. You're going to lose two teams will lose from players that you have skill players on, and so he's a fun one to bank and move on. Josh Jacobs though is going to project better. And so I've just been struggling I had Jacobs quite a bit higher than Watson at first, but it feels like sentiment on Watson is really strong.
So that's why you started that. You're explaining why you have Watson so high. The chat's initial feel is the same. Like you get Jacobs up, Watson down, Dobbs and Reed versus Watson. Now I feel good about jamming Jacobs. Jacobs, Dobbs, Reed, good plays. There's a lot of commentary, but that's why you're talking about that is you've done the thought process. Your initial feel was that Watson would be lower than this. As you've worked through it, you've had to raise Watson, is what you're saying.
I've been raising Watson as I go because I've just heard a lot of Watson love. And I think when people think through the bracket on the Packers, I don't think people like the Packers. And look, I have a lot of reason to think that because I'm drafting Packers. Hey, sign up for the Sidekick, legendaryupside.com/sidekick and draft some Packers. We need your help. We need your help getting these Packers on teams. We're handing out Packers to good homes.
We're handing out Packers.
We're handing out
Packers.
charity.
I've got a bunch of Packers in the puppy truck.
Our guest on Friday, Dick Myers, does the welly maker. Pat's doing the Packer maker. He's just trying to find some good homes for these Green Bay Packers, man.
We can't get people to take these Packers. I don't think that people like the Packers, and Jacobs is a Packers win play. That's kind of what it comes down to. Is like Jacobs goes ahead of Watson in these tournaments, but not by a lot in the gauntlet and stuff. He's not going way ahead of Watson, especially on DraftKings with the receivers being a little thinner and harder to fill. They're close.
Do you really think Green Bay fade? Do you think Green Bay is going to be 22% fade? What did you have the Chicago fade at?
I have the total Chicago fade at 28 and the total Green Bay fade at 35.
I don't know, man. Fuck, I guess. It feels like
people like Chicago more than Green Bay.
Right? So Jacobs and Watson are just good fantasy plays. And I can't tell if I think I can't tell if I think that's a mistake in your projection or a mistake in the field, because the way it would seem to me is that the Bears and the Packers are having to play each other, which negatively impacts their one-game win rate. But I still feel like the Bears and my assumption would be the Bears and the Packers can beat
the
Eagles.
I've been saying this to Pat in our chat that, and because he was telling me that both the Bears and the Packers are super cheap. The Sidekick will get you on either of them in the late rounds of the
It's like it's literally like pick. It's time for your Bears and Packers now. Which would you like?
But one of them has to win, and then they're not bad teams. They are live to then go and win again and go 3 games.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the Bears and the Packers are a couple of the best across all playoff formats, best plays that are out there, probably based on the way that sentiment seems to be very negative on them. On the Watson point specifically, as we were talking through the Packers a little bit earlier, I was telling Pat, I agree with him entirely. Everything he said about Watson, I'm super into him. I do agree with the chat a little bit. The way that I wrote it in our chat was, I think the degree to which I'm confident he'll outscore Dobbs or Jaden Reed or whoever is not proportional to the exponentially more lineups he'll be in. That's when I thought Pat was going to have Watson at 12. Watson at 27 and those other guys down at sub 2%. I mean, this is a team that spreads it around. Watson does get the air yards. I was just going to check his targets. Most of the time he hits on 5 targets, 4 catches, 80 yards. It's not, those 5 targets could go incomplete and then you got nothing. And especially in a loss, Dobbs gets more targets. It seems like Reed obviously just came back recently. I do like the Josh Jacobs play that the chat was saying. Watson deserves to be the projected wide receiver 1. I like to write that article, input volatility. I think there's a lot of input volatility with that projection. Another way I put it to Pat earlier was, if they play 10 more games, I'm not confident 5 weeks from now that Watson would still be projected as the wide receiver 1. Whereas I am that Puka would be, or I am that the wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams would still be 5 weeks from now. This Packers team, it's Ben Watson, and rightfully so, he's been very good. It could shift another way with how spread the targets are. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to have that big of a gap between Watson and the other guys.
Yeah, although just, for people, I mean, I don't know, maybe Mark's playing this contest every year, but the way this tends to go is that you have the primary play, the secondary play, and the tertiary play, right? And those would be Jacobs, Watson, and not playing Green Bay. Yep. And then you get down into the Dobbs and the Reed, and because there's not one guy, it's not a Devontae Smith situation. I do think that they come in way lower. I think Watson,
you're right on ownership. I'm talking more about
the play.
Yeah, the play. I think you have the ownership locked in, and it is because the projection. There is a meaningful gap in the projection. Somebody just mentioned the projection, and
Mark's saying, I'm not saying
should
you're wrong.
be.
If it's true, that's terrible. I don't even know that it's terrible, to be honest, because it's like you don't have like Jaden Reed is one of the plays that we've probably done less of over the years. It's like, hey, you don't need to play Jaden Reed. Right. You know, you can do other stuff like Kittle. Great play.
So I was hoping we would get here, and we did get here by the end, which is like to summarize all of this. And I wonder how much this is going to end up functioning in terms of what the ownerships actually are, if the downstream effects of understanding salary cap DFS come here, which is that the plays that end up evaporating are the Romeo Dubs teams, the Jaden Reed teams, to Ben's point, the Brock Purdy teams, where if the sorts of plays that get weeded out when you start to do a sim process are not the 0% plays, but like the truly marginal plays, the Monunguys, right? Like we were laughing about Monungai earlier, like, oh, it's cold or whatever. But like, you just really probably should never play Monungai over Loveland in this universe, because the contest is not that big. How many entries are there?
There are.
That's a good question.
Like it's not that.
It's like it's not even 1,000.
I was gonna say it's. I think it's
10,000. It's like 8. Yeah, 6 or 8. It's not 10,000. I was just doing some.
Like it's like a decent sized 3 max salary cap contest. You know.
Well, and the other part of it is, even when you hit on a really thin play like that, it guarantees you almost nothing. We've had years like the year that Juju was like completely unplayed in the first round for the Steelers, and we had like 2 teams with him, and we're like, yeah, we're overweight on him because he was played in like only like 10 teams in the whole thing. And then you go look at those 2 teams, and you're like, yeah, but these 2 teams have a bunch of problems with the other builds around him. Like you can, it doesn't mean you don't play leverage plays at all, but you do have to understand that even when you hit on it, it's not like DFS where if you really nail one of those levers, it can propel you if you have the right game stack around it. You have like one other thing right. You can't limit things that you need to get right enough that to some degree, when you've played this tournament a lot of times, you're like, well, I'm just not even worrying about the guys that aren't going to be played, because they're probably not going to be in the winning lineup, because it's too hard to get them right in the 5 lineups that they're in with everything else you have to get right around it. I mean,
there's an element where you're actually like okay holding hands with some of the field on certain things, because you're like, I have to get all this other stuff right. So if like we agree that like we'll just have CMC here, then that's kind of fine.
That's fine.
Actually.
Yeah.
Like like having Juwan Jennings on this team where I nailed everything else right is really pissing me off right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So it's like
that's right.
Like, oh, I have the nuts, but this is the one where I got fancy with Jaden Reed. Like, great.
Yeah. God.
That's right.
Damn it.
If I would have just played
through
Watson,
that enough.
because Watson at 24 is still a low percent. You'd be like, God, if I would have just played Watson, but those 24% of people gained so much on me because I played Jaden Reed when I didn't need to on this team. It does suck.
It sucks. Like, it really sucks. Yeah.
It's hard enough to get. I mean, even if you play owned players, the bigger issue is if you only play chalk, you dupe. You do want to do enough to be off the most common build types, but that doesn't mean you have to get to 1% plays or sub 1% plays, because there's a lot of guys like Watson. 24% is not a ton. That's only, whatever, a couple thousand of the lineup with that one play. You got 12 plays across your lineup. If you make a lot of plays in the 20% range, you're probably not going to be duping too much. But yeah, anyway.
Did you have you mentioned projections earlier. What do they have? What does ETR have Watson at this week, Davis?
I'm looking at it right now. They got him at 12.4 in FFPC, and they have Reed at 9.1. So they have a 3.3 gap.
Okay,
and
so
then Dobbs at 7.7, even quite a bit.
So that's a pretty
down.
big gap. Yeah. What did they have Jacobs at?
They have Jacobs at 17.5. Quite a bit ahead of Watson.
Quite a bit ahead. So maybe I still have Jacobs a little too low there.
I do think Jacobs is a pretty good play, because especially like they're live to win, obviously, and be a 2-gamer, and then
all right, I'll get Jacobs up a little bit. That was when I was like been trying to just heard so much Watson love, but Jacobs is just projecting so much better. I feel better about going with the projection.
This is another thing. Like Jake says, Kittle and QJ plus chalk. That's when you get duped, when you play a lot of chalk and then you just go, I'm going to play QJ, because a lot of the people who play QJ are going to be like, that's enough. QJ is going to be in a couple percent. A couple percent is a few hundred. And then, I mean, or whatever, not a few hundred. Man, math is hard. 10,000-ish teams. Yeah. So 1% is 100 lineups-ish. Like 80, because it's like 8,000 or whatever you said. So like if he's 2%, he's in 160 lineups. And a lot of those lineups are going to put chalky pieces around it. And Kittle himself is not chalk. So, I mean, that's I think you're better off, rather than going down to the 2% play and playing all chalk. That's what people are going to do and think they're getting unique. You're better off doing 3 or 4 pivots to the 20% guys, the
really good plays, guys who project really well and are going to score a bunch of points, but are getting underplayed because it's not as comfy to click them.
Right. Kittle's a version of that for sure, but you need
Kittle's a version of that.
Yeah.
I would say Adams is a version of that too.
Gretch, that is such a good point. I mean, that's like basically the most instructive way to think about this is don't have your pivots be these schlubs. Have these pivots be high scoring guys who have teammates who also score well, but are just more popular.
Yep.
That like, honestly, 2 hours, 25 minutes into this, we just like kind of hit the key of the exercise, which is like, yes, you should definitely play the guys who project well, but you can win with Cameron Dicker instead of Chargers hard fade. You can win with AJ Brown over Barkley. It's less likely to win with Jaden Reed over Josh Jacobs.
And there's so many good plays that don't really get played. You don't have to go to super thin plays. I mean, there's like good high scoring players that are not. We just went through them all. We're gonna go position by position now, right? Pat's doing a little tweaking.
We are, yeah. I'm getting some things sorted out. But I mean, one of them would be Travion Henderson, who I'm down to 16% now.
Yeah, that might be your Akers play this year.
Yeah,
there's a lot of dudes like that,
and I just put him at 15%. I mean, Henderson is. I don't know. I don't even.
ETR has Woody Marks projected the same as Travion Henderson. So we have to play Woody Marks.
How many weeks has Woody Marks? This would be a good one. How many weeks has Woody Marks hit his ETR PPR projection?
I was just saying this earlier. I think it's not happened. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to ask Leone whenever we have this conversation, maybe it'll be Friday, if he has that. I'm sure he does. I'll be curious what their projected number versus his actual points on a weekly basis is. I mean, he gets a lot of playing time. Like, your projections are going to like him.
I got everything to 100. Everything's sorted out. Got the fades all to 200%. Everything's sorted. Here we go. Position by position. Go through this quickly. Made adjustments as we went. Drake May 33, Josh Allen 25. What do you guys think? This
looks right to me. This looks like the right order. This looks like roughly given who their teammates are. Like I think you did a good job.
That makes sense. I think it is still going to be May and Allen. Hurts, Lawrence, Nix, Stafford feels like that
a
secondary pivot group, right? And then there's just going to be some riffraff on those other guys. And that's good.
All right, let's go to running back. McCaffrey, the big chalk, then Cook, Jacobs, Barkley, ETN.
So this looks right, and it does make me think, God, I can't believe, man. I can't believe this is where I've gotten. But like Barkley here, 42%. I'm feeling. I'm a buyer. I'm a buyer on Barkley as the running back 4 in this tournament.
This also drives home the point we were just making. There's only 5 running backs that come in over 20%. There's a big gap there. You can get to the 6th best, 7th best, 8th best running back play at sub 20%. Like there are, like you mentioned Travion, Pat, but RJ Harvey, Hampton, Swift. If you want to play Ramondre, if you want to play Gainwell, like Gainwell's a decent version of that, where like he's going to catch 8%. In a loss, in a one and done, Gainwell could still be an optimal running back play. Like there's a lot of decent plays here, but yeah, as far as overall ownership, I mean, looks right.
This is actually what Joe was asking for before, so I'm glad that we did give Joe what he wanted. I thought you were asking me to make like a pie chart or something, and that's why I said
that's what I thought too. Like there would be like a line.
Yeah, I thought it was homework, but that was a reasonable request. Travion looks great. I think Travion looks great. I don't know. I had extra quarterback because I took quarterback away from Purdy and some other guys as we went, and it went mostly to May. Because I feel like, as we go through, it's like, yeah, there's not a lot of Patriots people are excited to play. And I don't really buy that they're going to gravitate to Hunter Henry. Because you guys are all excited to play Kittle. How excited are you to play 2 tight end lineups? You're putting Hunter Henry in with Kittle, or you're not playing Hunter Henry? You're not playing Hunter Henry. You're playing Travion Henderson, right? Or you're playing Stephon Diggs or May or Ramondre if you're a boomer. So, you've got other options there. I don't think Henry's going to be super high owned. I think it mostly goes to May, but I don't know. I mean, Henderson at 15 is like there's a Patriot I want to jam in this tournament, and it's not Drake May. Like, how did this happen? So yeah, we'll see.
Let's look at the receivers.
Curious that it went mostly to May. Yeah, maybe Nix, maybe May comes down, Henderson comes out. I'm gonna try to get some more Henderson vibes before I'll be adjusting these as we move in to the weekend. So, all right, wide receiver. Yeah. So the 2 big chalk pieces.
80%. Is that like that feels like?
And I was told he was low.
Yeah.
So this feels right. Sutton being the 3rd does feel insane. But I think the way the Denver stuff goes, because there's going to be very little hard fade of Denver, right? So anytime there's I wonder if there's any kind
not
of
a lot of good receiver plays. Like look at below that. I mean, it means people are going to jam JSN and Puka more. But if you don't play JSN or Puka
or Adams, the Puka, because keep in mind, because people mention, oh, your Puka's low. Well, hang on, because it gets up to 87% once I tack on Adams.
That's right.
So
Rams receiver is in a
Rams receiver is 87%.
Yeah,
so it's pretty freaking high. Yeah.
Yep. And then just a bunch of shitters like Tet getting. Tet 48%
feels like Cloud Soldiers meme, but dude, no one's playing Harvey with the Dobbins thing. You can't.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm playing Harvey over Sutton, but I might lose Harvey in the conference championship game, and I'm not sure I want him over Sutton to begin with. I might prefer Sutton in a loss.
Right. This is why Jacob was saying Nix is such a good play as well. I actually think Sutton is a good play at 48%.
I think he's fine.
Yeah.
I think he's
probably a good play because the reason he's getting boosted up is valid, and he's going to be held down a little because people are like it's Cortland Sutton, but like there's a lot of scenarios where Cortland Sutton is the Denver play in my mind.
Yeah. This is live. Are we live on YouTube right now? We are. If that's the question, I'm not sure what else you mean. How's Nevada up at 10 at night?
That's how much I love you guys, bro. That's how much I love you guys.
Yeah, Crutch is saying he agrees with the ownership on Sutton, but he just likes the Harvey play or the Harvey ownership.
A fun play too. The Broncos, like I don't know, the fact that everyone wants to fade him makes me want to play all their guys.
Maybe Nix does get a little higher. I might bump up Nix like 1% and take May down, and put Henderson up or something like that. That'll be probably post show tweak. But anything else jump out to you guys from these ownerships on the receivers? Metcalf, McMillan, we didn't really talk about.
Is Burden the litmus test for how many slappies are playing the contest?
Yes. Yeah. 10% of the field is just straight up slappies.
Yeah.
Amazing. No, this looks good. I think the big note is just like how quickly wide receiver actually dries up. It probably means it's tough to flex a lot of wide receivers. You might see more running backs in the flex. You can get different by flexing receivers.
This is why I think Christian Watson's higher than it feels like he should be.
Yep.
I might even bring
Metcalf, McMillan. Like if you want to do sharp pivots, you go to those teams that are likely to lose, but have a star wide receiver like a Metcalf or a McMillan that could be the guy even in a loss that hits the optimal. I mean, there's some ways to get smart here on this field by like flexing a lot of receivers like that.
People loving Parker Washington.
Such an elite play. Or like a Chargers receiver. We were talking about QJ. People start throwing QJ on there. I mean, I don't think that's crazy to play him. Whoever mentioned that a minute ago, you can play a QJ Kittle team. I just don't think play chalk with that. Like, you want 1 or 2 more good pivots.
So I was going to ask you guys about AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and then versus Saquon Barkley. And I figured we should probably, wrap things up. But then Shorty told me that I was completely off on Philly. So now I'm tilted and I have to ask you guys, what what do you guys think in terms of my Barkley projection versus the Philly projection? Brown at 20, Devontae's down at 6, and then Barkley I had at like 50-ish, 42. Oh yeah, 42. So not even that high.
The idea that Smith and Brown are going to get to 40% is, I think, an outlier perspective.
Yeah.
Shorty's entitled to his opinion, but I don't agree with it. That's not the way that those guys have scored this year. That's not the way they're viewed. That's not the way that team is viewed to win. When they win, when they go on runs, the thought is that they're going to do it through Barkley or Hurts again. Is I think a really reasonable play that's going to catch ownership. We moved him up, or we're talking about him. You still have ownership on AJ Brown. He's tied for the 5th highest wide receiver ownership in this whole contest on a team where people I've talked about wanting to play the tight end as well, the running back and the QB. I mean, like, it's not like you're saying they're going to be fully faded. When we went through the Eagles, we didn't talk about Brown really a lot, but I was in my mind going, that's right. You put him at a solid number, 20%. That's right. You know?
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I agree with this. Devontae, oh no. I mean, that's a comment I also agree with, but the one I want to pull up was Devontae Smith at 6% just feels off because we're DFS brained.
right.
But yeah,
Devonta Smith,
I think
the fifth play that people are going to want to play on the team. Saquon, Hurts, AJ Brown, and Goddard are all going to be, and then Devontae, the second receiver, becomes the 5th guy. That, I mean, we talked about, like, there's the primary chalk, the secondary chalk, and maybe the tertiary. Like, Devontae's fun, but he is going to be the 5th most played player on his team. It's hard for that to be higher than 6%.
This is when I start to know that the ownership is really getting dialed in. People will play T-Law more than Hurts. That's what's wrong. Hurts feels like a sick play if he's actually 12%.
Right.
So, I don't think Hurts is low, man. Or I don't think I've overprojected Hurts. Like, really
Hurts just been really high on T-Law the whole show. He wants to play T-Law, like, really bad.
Yeah. All right.
Tight end.
Let's go to tight end. Loveland chalk, and I think it's going to be sneaky chalk. I'm not sure people who
chalk. Everyone who puts Loveland in is going to be like, they don't see it coming, bro. They don't even know what's about to happen to them.
Right. Yeah,
but this is probably still low.
When you look, it's going to be on him and not realize it.
Yeah, it's amazing. But
dude, all these idiots playing Swift, and then nope, it's all Loveland. It was always the astronaut meme. It was always Loveland.
That is
and honestly, I think the Loveland thing is like the value of actually sitting down and creating ownership for all of the players. Like, it's like, oh shit, Colston Loveland's gonna be chalk. Like, that to me is like one of the big values of doing this. Yeah,
and totally. And that is the way that a lot of the, like, boomers, if you will think about it. They'll be like, oh, he's a sneaky play, and then they're gonna find out he's chalk. For us, knowing that he's gonna be somewhat chalky, knowing he's gonna be 32%, he's still a smash play, right? Like, I was a little skeptical last night. He went over 80% routes for the first time in week 16, but he's been over it all 3 of the final 3 weeks leading into the postseason. And the last 2 games, 10 targets, 6 catches, 94 yards in a TD, 13 targets, 10 catches, 91 yards in a TD. Those are monster games heading into the postseason with all the routes to back it up that just started peaking, and then his production followed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a really good play, actually, even at 32% on a weak tight end field on a team that could win, that doesn't have great other plays.
I think he and Burden are fairly equivalent plays with Odunze coming back. And maybe even you'd say you like Loveland a tad more straight up in PPR. And then this is a tight end premium, so 1.5 premium PPR. So and then also we're all kind of looking for tight ends. And
we're
also
looking for tight ends.
Loveland's kind of fine in a loss. I'm not worried about needing to feel like the Bears win if I have Loveland. So And I mean, talk about a way to hit the optimal at tight end. Like, if he goes nuts, if he puts up a 30 burger in tight end premium in a Bears loss, good luck beating that. So
it's almost kind of better. Honestly, it's kind of almost better for them to lose and just like he gets like 11 receptions. Like you almost kind of want Loveland more in a loss, where it feels like if they get 2 games, one of them being a win, then you get like Swift and Burden.
Sorry, but you have Manungai. You have Manungai working
Jenkins
for you.
In the chat. No love for Jackson Haas. That's very good.
I actually do have quite a few gauntlet entries left to do, so that's what I'll be doing that later. But per this comment,
and
I don't think I moved the market enough for this comment to be correct. That my T-Law projection.
We gotta move on from Shorty's like micro QB tweets in the 10% range. He's really stuck on that.
Really stuck on it.
Juice McCaffrey said Strange might maybe a spinch higher. 9% Strange I do kind of like. I think he's a pretty good play, but we were also talking about T-Law has come up. We were talking about Parker Washington. People are going to play some Brian Thomas and some Jacoby
I think
Myers.
Strange might be high. I think I might have Strange high.
He might actually get squeezed a little is where I was going to go too, because ETN is obviously the chalk there. And the Bills part of it, where people want to play Allen and then maybe fade the Jags a little bit, play the Jags D or just, full fade them or whatever. I think Strange is a good pivot. I do think you're right, Pat, that if anything, he's going to sneakily come in lower than he probably should. I think it's a nice play is what I think you're seeing more than his ownership needs to come up.
Yeah, again, I don't think people are going to really be excited to play multiple tight ends. You'll see some two tight end lineups, but you're not really going to see any 3 tight end lineups. I think those are going to be pretty rare. And then, and if you build a 3 tight end lineup, you're going to look at the 3rd tight end and be like, this could be not a tight end. I'm gonna what a nice little pivot I can make here.
But people do forget it is tight end premium.
They do forget. But you get Kittle in there. Now I don't have to play Strange. I can play ETN.
Right.
I can play.
Tight end's a big part of this. Tight end's a big part of what we got to figure out on this. But let's look at kicker and D and fades real quick, and then get out of here.
Real quick, I just want to. What are you guys' thoughts on this? The Schultz ownership at 18 or 19%? We're in the weeds now.
I think it's gonna be 19. That's good. That's good.
All right. Let's go to kickers.
I dead ass. I do think if you are doing more edits, I would think about trying to find a couple more percentage for Fairbairn.
So do you think that the Texans get faded more than I have it, or do you think it comes out of their defense?
I think it comes out of their defense. Yeah, I think because
you guys love the D, man.
People love
you
the
guys.
D.
Well, but you guys just outlined why the Texans D is such a bad play on.
No, but so the last 2 years they've been optimal in multiple game runs, and people are going to be like the people that play this contest every year are like, man, I'm playing the Texans in a win. The Texans DST in a win.
You might be right, Davis, and it might just be that the Texans get faded a little bit more, but I already have them at 35%. I've got Green Bay actually down to 31 now, so they're the 4th most faded team I'm projecting them to be the 4th most faded team. I'm projecting a chalk lineup basically to have like Boswell and this was the Boomer Opto, Boswell and Texans D. But I actually don't think it'll go that way.
But you see that's so easy though. Like when it's that much of a 1-to-1, that's so easy for to just swap those around or to make a different fade, to just put Fairbairn different D.
Davis, the thing is, he's not kicking indoors. He's kicking outdoors in a stadium. We just saw all these missed kicks in week 18. I think people are like legit scared of Heinz Field. A low total game. He's already got 15%.
I guess my brain is not processing that far. Also, the other thing is I've seen this has been a YouTube comment I've gotten all week talking about this playoff stuff. People talking about how Rodgers is just not going to take any sacks and not get any interceptions. He's just going to dirt every.
This is wild to me. He just melted down against the Browns 2 weeks ago.
I can only tell you what my YouTube comments tell me.
Let's go to the D. We've spent enough time on the kickers. Let's go see where you have Houston's D. I like the YouTube comment alpha though. That's pretty great.
Great. You really pick up on stuff like Devon Vele, most commented player in my YouTube chat of all time. People fucking love Devon Vele. And Diami Brown.
For some reason, your YouTube chat loving Devon Vele is just great. I just love it.
And I couldn't breathe without someone telling me Diami Brown was a good round 18 pick this offseason, and I just could not let it go because it was so mystifying. Anyways, the defenses.
You know what? I'm going to try to find a little bit more Fairbairn. I'm going to try to get a little bit more Fairbairn, which probably means I fade Texans a little bit more. I have the Texans hard fade
or take it off their D, like he said.
at 0%.
This is fascinating. You have Houston and Pittsburgh's kickers were both really high. You had both Fairbairn and Boswell, and now you have their defenses as the top two. A lot of people are going to be soft fading that Houston-Pittsburgh game. Think about doing something different. You want to get unique. Think about doing it differently. Play Woody Marks is what I just told you.
Not that, but something. Carolina D should be last. Don't I have them? I mean, I've got them at 2%. Yeah, I mean, sure. That probably could. I could take that down to 1.
Part of that is that people are going to be picking them to lose, and so it's easy when you pick them to lose.
Yeah, some people will play the D because you don't want to like literally put. I mean, frankly, those people are probably us because we're probably going to like try to randomize the Ds a little bit, and we'll play some Carolina D. So it's like it just when you're looking at a team that's going to get like 90% total faded, including the kicker and D. And then the D almost has to be played a little
bit, right?
Yeah. So I think 2 is probably right.
Who's the Rams' backup quarterback? Can he throw some picks after the Rams are up by 35?
Anything else on the? I think one thing I'll notice probably later tonight or tomorrow, I'll probably have Jacksonville D a little lower and get hard fade in there more because I want to get Jacksonville hard fade up opposite Allen teams. I think that's something I probably messed up. I also think Denver hard fade might be a little higher than I have it, but that's it. That's I mean, I'll show the people fades. Yeah,
we usually close with a build. Do we have?
Oh yeah, for that? I do. Yeah, Pete Regis' team.
Nice.
All right, so yeah, Carolina's just going to get massively faded. We haven't talked about the kicker D for a reason.
Massively faded.
Those top 3 teams are the big fades, and then people want to fade the Green Bay Chicago game a little bit, but I mean it's Carolina side Pittsburgh.
In some cases.
If you want to, that's the other thing we've always said. If you want to get unique, one of the things you can do, and this gets back to that one commenter's idea of playing QJ. I mean, one thing you can do is just play a Panther or a Steeler or a Charger or 2 of them in losses because there will be at least 2 skill players that go, one and done. And all like some of these other teams are going to lose. Like Buffalo as a fade, we were talking about as an option because if the Jags do win that game, then it's just who of the Bills skill players scored the most. Did Tedero McMillan outscore James Cook when both their teams were losing? Because Cook in a loss probably isn't a great play, and that can definitely happen more than the field will play it. Like that's one of the smartest ways to get unique is just think through. Hey, 6 teams are going to lose this weekend, and it doesn't matter how good the Bills are in general or the Jags. One of them is going to lose, and there's a strong possibility that the losing team out of that game or any game isn't the highest scorer of the weekend. Everyone's going to think that it's the Panthers and the Steelers to fade is kind of what you're showing. But
yeah, I think so. A couple people aren't that dumb that are maxing. They'll play Carolina skill players. I think it's under 80%. That would be a big departure from kind of years past. Like last year, the Steelers were 91% faded and the Broncos were 86% faded. 2 years ago, the Steelers were 95% faded.
That's all fades, including soft fades?
That's total fades, yeah.
Yeah.
3 years ago, the Ravens were 89, Seahawks were 86, Miami was 82. And these are teams that at the time had about a 1% chance to make the Super Bowl, 1 to 2%. And the Steelers, who were 91% last year, faded, actually had a 3% chance. The Broncos were 86% faded with a 3% chance as well. Panthers have a 1% chance to make the Super Bowl. So fading them is like not dumb. It's just, maybe it's fading them a little too much. But like McMillan, I don't know, what would optimal be? Like 15% or something? It's not like crazy high.
And
no,
the other reason
they're the biggest dogs, and it's like a bad matchup.
The other reason this can't get under 80, we broke it down last night when we decided that their fade's going to be so high, is that there's 3 teams, Carolina, Pittsburgh, and the Chargers, that make sense for fading, but you have to fade 4. So when we're getting to the bottom of the Boomer Opto, you're squeezing out a team you don't want to fade somewhere. You have it's a favored team in opening weekend or something. So you're already doing that with the way that the numbers work out.
To add Carolina into your skill position thing, you have to then squeeze out 2 of those teams. There's 2. It's a year where it's tough to get everyone in that you want to have exposure to.
It's like McMillan versus ETN, or McMillan versus McCaffrey, or McMillan versus Kittle, or McMillan versus, maybe the Chargers one is easy, but you probably already have them faded. So McMillan versus Loveland at tight end. Now you got to figure out tight end somewhere else, or Josh Jacobs.
Right? Yeah.
Or Watson.
And you're already fading one of those. You've already got one
or
of
James Cook.
Bay, or James Cook.
Which again, we think is a sharp way to do it, right? Like you're fading the Bills is probably pretty sharp. Because I think I do think the flip side of this is that we've seen teams with like really comfy plays not get faded. Like last year, the Eagles were 2% faded. Of course, they did win the Super Bowl. But the Vikings were 5% faded. They had a 13% chance to get to the Super Bowl. The Rams were 7% faded with a 7% chance to get to the Super Bowl. These teams like the 49ers tend to just get played. And the Bills, right. I would group in that as well.
Let's build. I love this from Crutches. Davis is hibernating. Davis has never talked so little on the stream. Davis, you did a great job filling in for Pete. You're just drafting over there. It seems like. Well, let us talk.
My brain,
Seattle faded
0% is slowing down.
Yeah.
I also just have less opinions on this stuff. I have not played these nearly as hardcore as you guys have. So I have less opinions.
There you go.
Real quick before we move off the fades, this is hard fade. You don't select anything. I think most of the Seattle fade will come through the kicker or the defense. Obviously, they have an elite defense. So I have their total fade up at 8%, which is pretty high actually for a 1 seed.
Jason Myers had a really good year kicking.
And he's a kicker. People know. You got There's always a little bit, and just like, oh, I know that guy.
I was looking at ETR's playoff projections, like their points per game stuff for that friend thing I was doing, where I have to draft a kicker, and Myers was their highest projected point per game kicker for the whole playoffs. So if you want to fade Seattle, I mean, Myers is like a really nice way to do it. Honestly, I like the Jason Myers play a lot.
Yeah, I think most people just go with Myers, who gives you a really nice kicker, or they go Seattle. Dude.
This is exactly right. Jason Myers getting 23 points and a loss is on the table. Like, it's totally there.
Yeah. All right. Let's build a lineup before we get out of here. Gretch, why don't you kick us off?
All right, I'm gonna kick us off with a selection of Bills full fade. Bills hard fade is my selection.
All right, so on a Bills hard fade, we should take. Do we take Lawrence or do we take ETN?
Either way, but it doesn't have to be a Lawrence team.
They lost, so that means that
I like ETN on it.
Okay,
all right, let's do ETN.
Well, I mean,
Liam's in shambles, and now Shorty Vegas pick is also in shambles, so we're not making this a Lawrence team.
Yes, let's make everyone mad.
All right, so you took ETN. ETN's here. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm taking ETN, but I was trying to take Bills hard fade. I wanted to make sure we didn't play both sides of that.
Davis.
I will take. I mean, let's just get Pook out of the way. Bills hard fade's already unique part of the game tree.
All right. So if we're talking Bills hard fade, and we don't have Lawrence, this is either a Bo Nix or a Drake May team.
That's right. It's a Drake May team.
What I'm fucking doing.
It was always a Drake May team.
It was always a Drake May team.
So with Bills hard fade on the board, we can put Tedero McMillan into this lineup. We did it last night. We're doing it again tonight. It's a good one to get a Carolina play in. We talked about when you're squeezed for teams, but we're getting the Bills out, so it works.
All right. Well, now we can do. We could take McCaffrey. Like we can honestly, with the combo of Tet, Bills hard fade. The combinatorial ownership there will be what?
Well, actually, we're kind of high because when Bills are hard faded, you're more likely to get.
You're more. I guess you're more like. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Teams are more likely to be fading a team. Like the Bills.
Yeah. So wait, am I up? Who's up?
You're up.
You're up.
Okay. So just thinking through the rest of this AFC bracket, we need Houston. Houston's going to go to Denver. Denver, the bad Nico Collins matchup potentially. I'm going to go Dalton Schultz.
Okay. I was going to go Loveland, but Dalton Schultz.
Schultz and Loveland. Schultz and Loveland, I think you'll see paired.
I don't know if I love. Because then Schultz has to outscore Nico. The thing about not having a flex tight end,
but we get the Denver matchup in this bracket. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
That's
all right.
true.
Then
Yeah.
I'll take.
I'm
I'll
betting on
use.
Surtain. I'm doing cornerback.
I think it's me before you, Davis.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
I'm gonna do. Well, I'm gonna give you whatever question. I'll make you make the Bears decision tonight, and I'm gonna take Josh Jacobs on this. Play the Packers to win.
Well, it's not much of a decision because I'm selecting from the University of Missouri, Luther Burden the third.
Let's go.
So we had McMillan and Burden on last night's build.
Wow,
We're just
shocking!
playing the
Shocking.
two rookie receivers.
Shocking.
Where's Burden? Why isn't he right at the top?
Why is he
He's
not
right at the
ranked
top.
first?
Burden. Why is I'm seeing Puka Nakua instead of Burden? What's going on?
That doesn't seem right. Not in my model.
I'll take JSN.
This is actually sick.
This is a good team.
This is the slap. Well, it has ETN, so it can't be the full slappy opto.
What? That's just. Oh, that's not the slot. I got it. What's the?
We could always swap in Tootin.
What's the games that we don't have a piece of yet? Are there any?
Bills, Steelers.
We don't have the Eagles on
we don't
this.
have the
Eagles,
we don't have the
49ers. Oh, we got McCaffrey. Good.
Okay, so we could fade the Eagles. We don't have a Bronco either, but I mean, Jacob made a compelling case for fading the Broncos as well. Philly, Broncos.
Fading the Broncos is tricky.
I think we should fade the Broncos because we have ETN and May.
But that means we're betting on Schultz in 3 games now.
Oh, Houston plays. Yeah,
I think we want a Bronco. God, but then
we have
the Eagles.
Yeah, we have both the 2 and 3 seed winning, so Houston's going to.
We should probably pick the Bears Packers game.
Yeah, it's tough to do both Jacobs Burden on this.
No, they correlate. Burden has 11 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown and a loss.
We're talking about the bracket though. They do correlate. Yeah, no, I think we do got to play a Bronco. I think we can fade the Eagles and say that the Niners just beat them and McCaffrey is really good and the Eagles suck.
Okay.
So we're going to take Cortland Sutton. No, we're going to take RJ Harvey on this team because Schultz is we want the Broncos to win. 2-gamer RJ Harvey. Although I do like Sutton in a 2-gamer as well.
I kind of like Harvey on a May team because you're saying they're not getting to the Super Bowl anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crutches. Houston done for Sutton. That's a no. There you go, Crutch. It took me a minute. To get there.
So what do we want to do with the Eagles? Are we doing
Soft fade, right? Kicker.
their defense or their kicker? Could the Eagles defense is not, have they even scored very well? They limit opposing teams, but I don't know that they do a ton.
They were one of the better defenses down the stretch. In some some of the more advanced metrics. I think they've been playing pretty good defense.
Okay.
Or if they just had an easy schedule. Someone, my brother-in-law's an Eagles fan. He told me they had the best defense in football the last 6 weeks or something just earlier today.
I mean, I know they have a good defense. I guess I'm wondering because they seem like a stifling defense. So like, do they actually put up fantasy points? But they should have.
That's a good question.
Against. So we could do Philly D.
They have at least one takeaway in 9 straight games.
All right.
That's a thing.
And then we need to pick A kicker from Steelers, Chargers, or Bills. But you've already said Bills hard fade, so that's out.
Well, obviously, Davis wants to take Dicker the kicker, right? Do you want
I don't
Dicker
think we
or do
want
you
Dicker
want
against
Boswell?
May. We want probably Boswell. Give ourselves
Dude,
that
come
out
on.
in case.
Boswell, when I think FFPC playoff challenge, I think Chris Boswell.
I think Chris Boswell too.
They're synonymous. How
That's
long
right.
has he been?
And
This is actually a good question. How long has he been the kicker for the Steelers? Chris Boswell has been a kicker for the Steelers. Honestly,
years.
I would have guessed. I would have said like 1998, 2015.
That's that 8 years now. It's 11. I love this. The Boswell thing as well with Schultz, because when you're playing Schultz in a win, you're playing it as kind of low scoring, not a ton of offense. You know, the Houston-Pittsburgh game, it goes low. Boswell kicks some field goals in that loss. That's
Also,
that's what
Schultz could
happens
like
there.
score a couple touchdowns and lose and become the optimal tight end, and you're like not. If you'd rather have a Steeler player,
We'll play
but you're
Boswell
like,
in an
Boswell in
advance.
2 could be okay as long as Schultz does well enough. You know,
Boswell in 2. That's
like if
great.
Schultz crushes, you like want them to lose now because you don't
For
want
sure.
Nico to come charging, assuming Nico
Yep.
doesn't do well. Yeah. Guys, I kind of like this lineup.
That's pretty fun.
I mean, that's the fun thing about these is you always get done with them being like fucking sick team, dude.
I know
Fucking
you
sick.
totally do. But like every player, this is like I think it is a good example of a thoughtful and smart lineup where every player in here is good enough to score some points. There's not like a ton
This
of,
lineup we
like,
built is
really
an example of a
thin-
smart lineup, just so you know.
But the reason this is different is we got unique with our fades here. We full faded Buffalo and soft faded Philly. That already puts you in like a 1% bracket of the field. There's not going to be a lot of people that do both those things. And if you do both those things, you can play Puka and McCaffrey and JSN and ETN and Josh Jacobs and Drake May, and just you can play some chalk. Like that's how this tournament works.
Yeah. The winner was not duped last year. Solo shipped. I think the first dupe was the 11th best lineup or something. I mentioned it last night on the show. I forget now, but it was not duped. It wasn't duped the year before. I'm not sure. This Fantasy Mojo's the place to go for that, but it's not the top lineup is not tended to be duped. But at the same time, the line was fairly high up, get really duped. So
Yeah.
yeah, it pays to pivot. It pays to make smart pivots in this tournament.
We did it.
All right.
3 hours and 1 minute of streaming. This is an episode of ADP Chasing.
This is what happens when Pete's not here, right?
That's
Everything happens. It just happens slower.
I know better than I don't have the cachet around here to keep you guys on the rails. I haven't won $2 million. You know, that's sort of like, so at the end of the day, I'm just here. I got about 22 DK Millie teams done. I contributed. So we're having and dude, imagine if Reeves was here.
If Reeves was here, we'd be halfway done.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I would be because I'd be asking him about the 49ers matchup, you know, get in the leads on. Yeah.
Getting Jacob to go to a trivia night did help because and I'm very long-winded too, but we had enough long-winded people on the show.
It helped, but also like once Jacob left and it was like our pace could have sped up a lot. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just stretch out.
Yeah, exactly.
And we learned a lot. We found the answer.
We did. I think the ownership projections got better than they were before the start of the night, which is always nice.
Tweaked a couple percentages here and
Tweaked
there.
a couple percentages. Once again, become a YouTube member so you can hop in the Ship Chasing Discord and get these ownership projections, which I'll be sending out later. I might send them out tomorrow morning, but you'll have them soon. And all right, I think that'll do it. We'll be back tomorrow with Sacrilegious and Drico, kind of doing the hodgepodge show. Then we'll be back Friday for the final build show with Leone, which is always an absolute blast. Guys, anything else you want to tell people before we get out of here?
No, everyone. Should make sure make sure to at Corain in the Discord if you can't find the ownership projections, or if you have any really specific, you're like, I don't know, man, Hurts maybe shift 1%. You think Jahan Dotson's really not going to be owned at all? Just like it's just make sure you're in the ship chasing Discord.
I don't know if you like, if you happen, let's say, to really like Trevor Lawrence and kind of feel like you didn't make that clear over the course of the entire 3-hour show. You know, you can
make sure to add him that Jalen Hurts needs to come down 2% and Lawrence needs to go up 2%.
Yeah,
make sure he knows that.
Jewish McCaffrey saying, if I miss on Allen's ownership, I'll be disappointed. I will.
True.
Miss
I'll be disappointed. Yeah,
it's gonna be our fault this year.
No, I will miss on Allen's ownership, but by just 1% for the 4th straight year, fucking nailed it.